Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is Friday, April the 4th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Glad you're with us as we get you set for the Final Four this weekend. Auburn making their second ever appearance in it. What would be satisfactory for you coming out of this? Is it national championship or bust, since this is the second trip? Be enough? What do you think needs to happen for Bruce Pearl, Greg? Is it just enough being here again? Only the second trip in school history?
Definitely enough to be here, but knowing what's coming here in a couple years, this could be the best chance for them to win it. Knowing that there's going to be some changes with the adjustments that will be made to NIL, the House settlement, it's going to get tougher for SEC schools and for programs that prioritize college football. It's going to be tougher for them to win championships in the future. So I think this is one where you got a great chance. You got a veteran roster. The stars are coming together. You're healthy for the most part. This is the one that you might have to actually go and get it done.
Okay, wait, breaking news here. You have a major update on the Alabama quarterback competition?
I do.
According to Athlon Sports, one day ago, MSN.com, front page, Greg McElroy provides major update on Alabama quarterback competition.
It'd be amazing. I mean, it's amazing. I guess I do. I'm not really. Nothing that is probably from our show.
If you're not going to say it, I'll read it. Whatever the major update is.
I'm not sure what it is. So for me to say it, I would have to know what it is.
Ty has had a solid camp. He's in firm control of the number one job.
Which is what we've said on this program for how long now?
Yeah, but we didn't state it as a major update.
Oh, we didn't.
That was our
we
mistake.
don't do headlines.
I feel like we big missed opportunity there.
Huge major update. No,
at least tease that overnight as to how major something was that was happening.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel like that is a major update. We are still 6 months away from toe meat and leather in the season opener.
Who wrote this? Let me see. Nazario Pangano. If we could email Nazario and ask him if he would just listen to Mac and Cube, he'd get these a lot earlier.
About to say, yeah. What day did he get it?
I guess he got it yesterday, but he got it from your podcast, not from this show.
Oh, he would have gotten. Well, if he would have listened on Monday to our show, he would have gotten it. No,
he doesn't. He needs to tune in. Give us a listen over there, Nazario.
That's why you listen to Mac and Cube. That's where you get the goods.
Explain to people exactly what you mean about how and why this may be so different in the coming years.
So, I don't know how aware people are. Given the state of the NASDAQ, Dow, and S&P, I don't know how much people want to talk about finances right now.
Can we go into that first? I think that's what the people are really waiting to hear.
Well, it just seems, it's just demoralizing. We don't need to be further demoralized during basketball season here in the SEC country, but
where's the tour this weekend? We can get into that too.
What tour? Oh, PGA Tour?
Not the Tour de France.
Well, Liv is in Miami.
Maybe the Vans Warped Tour.
So, I like the Warped Tour back in the day.
What is that? Was the skater tour?
No, it was a band.
A little bit of both.
It was skater, but it's like punk rockers.
I thought he said Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah, Vans.
That's what I said.
Sponsored the Warped Tour.
It was a music festival that had a bunch of skateboarders.
Yeah, think Blink-182, Newfound Glory.
Oh, they just had like a half pipe out to the side?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Like
everybody actually, instead of like your traditional mosh pit at a concert, they're just doing the half pipe.
Skate or die.
Yeah. Well, Blink plays, Blink plays First Date or whatever. All right, so basically what's going on right now, the House settlement's due to be approved on Monday. So in case you're unaware of what's going on, could it be delayed? I think it's likely. Could it potentially be just turned down altogether? Sure. It's one random judge, I believe, in California, and she could choose to do whatever it is she chooses to do. We've seen judges exercise their power in a lot of ways recently, so I nothing would surprise me. But what I would just encourage everybody to understand is that SEC rosters for basketball are right now, or at least in this upcoming year, going to be somewhere between $6 and $7 million. The highest levels of the Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, the A&M, the Texas, like those schools are going to have deep resources, Florida, deep resources as it relates to basketball NIL, $5, $6, $7 million in some cases. Not all up there, but for the most part, the ones that are the most competitive with the best talent, they're the ones that are up there. I'm sure Arkansas is up there, what have you. But with the House settlement, assuming it gets approved on Monday, like I said, could get delayed, could get turned down altogether. That is going to force the college basketball budget in the SEC to essentially shrink to between $2 and $3 million a year. And for you to get to 6 or 7, it has to be authentic name, image, and likeness endorsements. No one can get there. Just can't. So all that being said, we're looking at a situation where teams from the Big East that don't have to sponsor football, they can pay up to $6 or $7 million a year in NIL. So here, starting not next year, but the year after that, year 2 of the House settlement, that's when the gap will exist drastically in favor of the Big East schools that don't sponsor football. So that's going to be something worth watching. It could have an impact very much on the quality of player that's attracted to play in the Southeastern Conference. Hopefully it doesn't, but it probably will, just to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's something you need to be prepared for.
It just doesn't seem sensical that the Big East, because the lack of football, is going to be that much further ahead in what they can do with revenue sharing, because I wouldn't think that their revenue share would still be that much more. I know when you really maybe slice the numbers up, it may appear to be that way. And also we don't think they're going to find it. Well, I said this all the time. They're not going to find a way to circumvent it somehow. We've seen all of the different changes and ways and, ideas. And I think we're further enough down this quote NIL path now to where if these collectives or administrators or schools start coming to people and saying, hey, we appreciate the $2 million you put in last year, but we're going to need some of your other businesses to actually ask this kid to put something on his Instagram. Can you do that for us? Yes. Cool. Thank you.
Perhaps.
If Walt Disney can go out and form all these shell companies to buy all the land that he built Disney World on, like, you don't think that these companies can start coming up with like a t-shirt company to have every kid on the basketball team do an Instagram ad for, and there's like 1,000 a month? But
it's got to be fair market value.
Well, lawsuit. What is fair market value? Because I have always been told fair market value is what anybody's willing to pay you.
Not if one school's not paying it to the same. So, for instance, if Auburn's paying $100,000 for a T-shirt, and Appalachian State is paying the same T-shirt for $1,000, that's not fair market value.
But if Appalachian State's T-shirt company is a startup and Auburn's is Beefy T, Haynes, feel like they got a little bit more that they can come to the table with.
Probably Russell Athletic.
Not anymore. They made the switch. Getting ready to switch again. Actually, coming up soon here.
All I know is that it's going to be hopefully a lot more fair when things move forward. But if you're a basketball fan and basketball exclusive and basketball is your number one priority, get ready. You're going to have to be a little more creative when it comes to attracting players. And guess what?
We really think that these basketball salaries for SEC schools are $6 and $7 million?
It will be next year. Confirmed.
Because it's all front loaded.
It's all front loaded.
Okay, but is the Big East going to be able to stay there?
Big East will be at $6 million a year because they don't have football, and that their revenue split, whatever the House settlement allows for them, it'll be somewhere in the vicinity of $6-7 million. The Big East can stay there and will.
I just don't feel like it's going to work out that way. But that's me. And some of the Big East schools, by the way, do have football.
Who?
UConn? They're not going to give their football players anything?
If
I'm not mistaken, Georgetown has a football team just because they're D3. They don't have to give them anything. I don't know exactly how the lower.
They're not giving them 75%.
I'm not saying that they were, but
I don't know what their revenue share number is, but I'm guessing their revenue share number is not 20 million like ours is in the SEC. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 10, and basketball is going to get 75% of that, and football will get next to nothing, I would imagine.
I just have a hard time believing that when it's all said and done, however it does work out.
On paper, I'm just telling you how it's supposed to go.
How many years
Whether
ago?
it goes that way or not. Now, but hey, guess what? Dropping off $10,000 at grandma's front porch in a briefcase is a little different than dropping off $1 million. I've never seen $1 million in cash in person, but I have seen $10,000 in cash in person. It's not that hard to you can put it in an envelope. It's pretty discretionary. You can.
Last time you bought your chips at a casino to play blackjack, probably.
Not quite that much.
Like were they
maybe
ones?
like $500?
Or are they like hundreds? Because like 10,000 and hundreds isn't. I mean,
10,000 and hundreds is just a band. Like it's not like what you think. I remember seeing what is it in dodgeball? Where he goes, hey, Peter LaFleur, I will buy Average Joe's Gymnasium right now. Opens it up. You've probably never seen $50,000.
That's a really good Dwight Goodman.
So he opens it up and there's just one stack of cash.
Yeah.
It's about what it looks like. Seriously, it's not as much as you think. So, I mean, if you get singles, sure, it probably looks a little different. But in hundreds, yeah, you can describe that. You can kind of hide that a little bit.
It's called make it rain, now make it drip.
Yes, you can hide that. But do you want to talk about trying to slide $1 million onto the front porch in a back alley deal?
I mean, Ricky Rowe taught me that you just got to get a new tractor for your dad. Well, there's a bag of cash too, but that new John Deere's sitting there at the farm.
We got action.
We know where you're going to play for the Dolphins. What were they? The
Iowa Dolphins?
No. You haven't seen Blue Chips?
No, that's a dumb movie.
No, it's actually not.
Haven't
it's
seen it,
similar to the program.
Movie.
If you go back and watch it now, it's actually pretty close. Western. What were they? The Western what?
The reason
I thought they were the Dolphins.
I haven't watched Blue Chips because the acting in it is probably terrible.
You're telling me Shaq and Penny Hardaway can't act?
I'm telling you, Jesus Shuttleworth can't act. So why would Shaq and Penny Hardaway be able to act?
It's totally different.
He got game terrible too.
One has to do with the parents. One has to do with how college basketball really worked or works.
Okay. Well, all I know is that actors, the big difference. When I see
what's the guy's name that plays
Jesus Shuttlesworth
John
against Denzel Washington, it's a pretty big difference in quality of acting.
No, the head coach Pete Bell. He's
Nick Nolte.
Big time actor. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he's terrible.
Bobby Knight and Dick Vitale are both in the movie.
So, Dick Vitale's in every movie. He's in Love and Basketball.
Whoa, I don't know about every.
Yeah, he is. Dick Vitale's in 15 movies.
The Western University Dolphins in L.A. Not real?
Dolphins are not privy to the Pacific Ocean. They're
Gulf
of America species.
They got a kid that shaves points. They got a kid that gets a tractor. Hell, Shaq turns the car down. Didn't want it. He's like, I don't even need it.
All right, so we got shaves points. That was off that right after the Arizona State deal, right?
There's a few others.
Boston College had one.
There's a couple others.
I don't remember the others.
Okay, good.
Those are the only two I remember.
Dick Vitale has 8 movie credits.
There you go.
To his name.
Every movie.
8.
Love and Basketball.
By the way, Ed O'Neill is in Blue Chips.
Whew, that's saying something.
Larry Bird plays himself, and you're telling me that's not accurate depiction?
He plays himself in Space Jam 1.
You can just say Space Jam.
Larry's clear.
No one acknowledges the other one.
Larry's clear. He almost hit a hole-in-one at Birmingham Pines Country Club.
Louis Gossett Jr.? You're telling me that this isn't a good cast? Jerry Tarkanian shows up. Rick Pitino. Credited as Richard Pitino, by the way, in his IMDb. And you're telling me that this isn't a realistic movie, and that's why you won't watch it. But you'll watch
Space Jam.
Hoop Dreams.
No, never watched Hoop Dreams. We'll watch the program. Program's decent.
Decent.
Of Dick Vitale's 8 credits, 6 of them he plays Dick Vitale.
Of course.
I call that smart. Somebody sends you a script and you send it back to your agent and say, I got an idea. Me.
There is a reason in Fresh Prince Will Smith made his name Will Smith, not something else. He was going to be big. Keep it as this. They're going to call me this forever. Do we know him as Alfonso Ribeiro or Carlton?
Fair.
It's true.
I got an idea for your movie. How about if I play myself? This other character talking about basketball sounds great, but you know who knows basketball better than that character? I do. put me in as me.
I can live with that.
Dick Vitale, the original Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Wow.
The same.
I just want to know about the other.
All you 90s kids all talk about how bad, or all you 80s kids talk about how bad the 90s sports movies were, but they're holding up better than any of the other sports movies.
What do you mean?
I mean, Blue Chips, if you go watch it now, everybody said how ridiculous the stuff was. It was happening. The program, look how ridiculous it was. It was happening. It was real. Now, I don't know if a kid laid in the middle of traffic reading the newspaper to prove how tough he was or how well he acted under pressure, but
what about the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback?
He didn't win it, all right? Joe Kane had a nice campaign, but he did not take home the trophy.
Yeah, but how often do you see starting quarterbacks just rocking motorcycles with drinking habits? Rocking with no helmet, rocking motorcycles.
I feel like there's a certain SEC school that's somewhere in there right now, pretty close. Maybe not on two wheels.
Have you seen Joe Kane's arms? He can't even fill out a jersey. That guy's probably 5'9". I bet you that guy's 5'9", 200.
Just because this was before they had the elastic armbands. No, they had the needle. Before they had the elastic armbands in the sleeves like they do now.
What about Latimer?
These weren't Under Armour jerseys they were wearing back in the day. They're actually Russell if you go watch.
Tearaway.
You act like there's not Latimers out there.
I know there were when you played.
Yeah, I was accused of being
trying to find me a one of that. It wasn't Latimer.
Accused of being one for like 13 consecutive weeks.
By?
The school when I showed up for our only 12-person random drug test on Tuesday mornings at 5:30.
The steroids aren't going to be in your
I know
test.
Because you pull the vial out from the toilet paper dispenser and use that instead.
No, if you're getting the good stuff, we need blood.
Everybody talked about how crazy it was, and then what happened to Ontario Smith? He gets stopped at TSA for the Whizzinator.
Right there.
But he all said it wasn't really happening. All I'm saying is these guys that made the program were geniuses. They knew exactly what was going on. Same thing with Blue Chips. Now, I'm not saying Shaq was playing at some warehouse basement on the outskirts of New Orleans on a basketball hoop that was like 4 inches too thick. But he may have been found different ways. But there are guys that are floating around there out of nowhere that get seen on backyard courts, I guess. But you know what? You'll take a recruiting win when you get a recruiting win. You're telling me guys weren't getting helps on their tests to be able to get into school? Well, Blue Chips said there were. And Blue Chips also showed you who's running the show. Who's running the show?
Boosters?
You got it.
We'll see. I will take...
Not Coach Bell.
We're too much on the up and up now. Back then, college football was portrayed as like a mom and pop shop, and it kind of was in many ways.
There you go. Keep talking about. And by the way, the program Blue Chips only cost $35 million to make.
In what year?
Sounds like a bargain to me.
In what year?
Well, half of it went to Nick Nolte, probably.
I'll take the under on that. 1993, $35 million. 93 is like 150 now,
which is actually not a super expensive movie budget. Is it, John? I don't know.
Oh, yes. Really. That's an expensive movie budget.
Well, I feel like for back then, yes.
Avatar cost like $1 billion to make.
I don't think it cost that much, but it was a lot.
Probably equally as unbelievable.
1994.
What did it do at the box office? Golly, this Megan 2.0. I went to IMDb and this Megan 2.0 is right there in the front thing. I about jumped out of my seat. Why you gotta have such freaky commercials now?
Wow, hold on. No one knows what you're talking about.
Well, go to IMDb homepage. Megan M3 GAN 2.0. Just jumping right out at me off the screen.
This cannot be right. Domestic gross $23 million.
Yeah, it didn't do well.
What, you talking about Blue Chips?
It's too accurate.
It's trash. That's why.
It was too accurate.
It was a terrible movie. It's like for those of you kids that were in the 80s that were starved of good movies.
It did 26 worldwide, okay?
Oh, wow. That's what people wanted to watch.
They almost broke even.
It's honestly a terrible movie.
It's Nick Nolte's fault.
I've never seen the whole thing. I don't think I can get through it.
I think Shaq probably commanded too much.
That's probably what it was. Oh, you know what people will watch it for? Shaq.
I did.
Dumb. Better movie, that or Kazam?
I hadn't seen the tape on Kazam.
Not even a question. It's obviously Blue Chips.
No.
That's at least worth
Tell me what other movie can compete with this cast of characters. Jim Boeheim, Bob Knight, Kevin Garnett, Allen Houston, George Lynch, Calbert Cheney.
You said your Blue Chips dumb movie was 35 million. You realize that Program was 15.
Once again, backing up my point that it's the greatest sports movie ever made.
It won. It made about 24 million.
Should have won more awards.
Yeah, like what? Like Best Picture?
In sports category, yes.
Good Lord. Some of these.
What are you going to tell me
pictures-
next? What was the movie where they get lost in the woods? Dr. Witchcraft. What was the name of that movie? The homemade movie on the
Blair Witch
Blair Witch Project. Yeah.
Okay.
What? You're telling me now? You're going to tell me how good that movie was because it only cost like $100,000 to make?
No, I don't usually judge movies by how much it cost them to.
I know you're after the critically acclaimed movies. You need Siskel and Ebert to tell us how well it was written.
Yep, both of them.
You can't enjoy it for what it is.
I like the adaptation. I like movies that make me think. You know what doesn't make me think? Dumb A movies. Dumb A movies that
Hi, kids.
give freaking tractors to recruits.
Guess who else is in Blue Chips? Dan Dockich. I did not know that. Until
Doc?
right now.
Wow.
Did not know that until right this second.
Unreal.
Bob Cousy? I didn't know he was in it. Matt Painter? Feels like early for Matt Painter.
Real early.
I think he was in as a player, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I think he was Ricky Rowe. If I'm not mistaken.
Stop.
I'm pretty sure. All right, we'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back here, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Segment number 2, going to try to make it better than segment number 1. That shouldn't be very difficult because Ron Slay is going to join us to talk Final Four. Slay, before we get into that, Greg and I are just having a massive argument here on the show. As he says Blue Chips is a terrible movie. I think it is an incredible movie. What are your thoughts?
Man, I loved it. I loved it. Man, how many times can you get guys that are current players to be able to go in a movie and play real basketball? And these be stars. Penny Hardaway, Big Shaq Diesel at the time. And then the plot.
Exactly.
How far ahead were they looking? You'd be like,
Slay, what? That's what I'm trying to tell him. Everybody makes fun of Blue Chips in the program. They were both right. It was all happening.
Yeah. Exactly. Come on, Greg. Don't do that, man. You got to roll with this one, man. Just roll with this one.
I'll resist the urge to roll with it. The movie's terrible, and the acting is terrible. I wish they would have gotten actors to play the basketball players.
Actually, the basketball players are better than the rest.
If
of the
I want to
cast,
watch hoop, I'll just watch real basketball. If I want to watch a movie, I want to see people that are professionally trained actors.
No, man, we don't need no clips cut, man, like they were doing in Hoosiers, you know what I mean, coming off the one leg joint, you know, and we ain't need that, man. We need balls being put on their neck, tear the rim down.
Let's get the guy, like some of these guys we see throwing in TV.
I can tell you this much.
Looks like me throwing left-handed.
Yeah, the guys, I don't know if it was allowed. I don't know if you were allowed to dunk back then, but there was no one on the Hoosiers team that was dunking. I can promise you that.
No.
That's Jimmy Chitwood plays below the rim.
Power layups.
Power layups. Good, strong left hand. All right. Looking at this weekend, man, set the stage. How you feeling about the way things are lining up?
Man, I love it. You know, you look at it, man, and you're talking about all chalk getting here, and it's been, you know, people saying, man, we want to see the Cinderella teams. All that's fine and well. But when you get elite teams playing like this, that have been like this throughout the entire year, and you finally get to the end and say, you know what, I wish we would have been able to see this. I ain't no wishing or hoping on this one. You got the teams that you need to see. Duke walking in there, Houston walking in there, and then the SEC coming in with Auburn and Florida, who've been the upper echelon of the SEC all year long. So this is what you want to see. All the guys have elite stars. When you talk about National Player of the Year, you look at exactly what Duke has in Cooper Flagg, Janai Broome for Auburn, and then you got Cooper Flagg for Duke. And then when you talk about the ultimate team, you talking about a throwback when you're looking at Hoosiers compared to Blue Chips. Well, Kevin Sampson has been able to do, this is a real life throwback to develop guys and bring a team with camaraderie, add a piece here and there, but also have your core intact. What else kind of storyline do you want, man?
I mean, it's tough to find a lot of bad ones in this one. A lot of great storylines, a lot of great potential outcomes, a lot of great matchups. What do you think the crowd will look like this weekend? Who do you think will have the strongest contingent of people on deck there in San Antonio?
Man, that is tough right there, man. I've been walking around the city down here, man, and you can kind of feel it from everyone. I would lean right now to the War Dam fans. Auburn coming down here with their contingency just super thick. But I wouldn't be surprised. You know how Duke rolls. You know, they come in droves. Sometimes they're a little hidden throughout the city at the time until it's game time, and then all of a sudden they pop up. So I would lean more, man, to Auburn and Duke having the biggest fan base. But I think everybody will be well represented. Houston's not too far from here. They've been waiting to be able to get a home style atmosphere. They've been on the road in the NCAA tournament and having to battle against teams like against the Tennessee, watching a Purdue where it's been 80-20 or 90-10. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think Auburn and Duke right here, they'll be leaning the most.
Ron Slay joining us, 3-hour lunch, our sister station up in Nashville, also SEC Network, see him this weekend covering the Final Four. There have been multiple guests on this program this week that know a lot more basketball than we do that have shown a ton of confidence in Auburn winning this basketball game. It's not that I don't think they can win this game. It's just that there seems to be a ton of confidence from a lot of folks that they're just going to get this done. I don't really know where you are on it, Slay. I'd like to hear it, and then let us know just what Auburn does have to do to be able to get past Florida this time.
Well, but what I think, man, when you have game changers and everybody knows you need guards to win tournaments. Auburn has a plethora of them when it comes from Tahad Pettiford to Denver Jones, Miles Kelly. You can throw Chad Baker-Mazara in that group. But, man, when you look at Florida, I don't think if you had to point to a group in this bunch of this Final Four and say, I want to take the three guards, the point guard, shooting guard, and small forward, off a team and start my team, I believe everybody would point at Florida. And this is leaving Cooper Flagg at the 4 spot, so I don't want nobody to be scratching their head. What are you talking about? Number one picking up. But this Florida team, the guards, the way they play, the points that they account for, man, is just different. Like you don't necessarily get to see this too many times where they are this consistent throughout the entire time, and I think that'll be the biggest problem for Auburn. Can they contain these guards and not let them get on those runs when you're up in control of the game, you're up by 6 points and 8 points, and then all of a sudden you get a onslaught of a 12-0 run, and it's from all angles. It's from Walter Clayton shooting the three. It's Will Richard getting the three in transition. It's Elijah Martin getting an offensive rebound where you forgot to box out one of the guys, the small guys on the floor, and he goes back up and dunks like a big man, which gets even more momentum going. So I think that's one of the things, man. But Auburn can capitalize. If I'm looking at it the right way, Auburn can capitalize on Florida's turnovers. Florida's been having double-digit turnovers in each of these games, giving teams opportunities to put them away where they have to have these heroics down the stretch. I'm not sure an experienced team like Auburn lets them get away with that if they were to fall in a hole and try to mount a comeback, but it still remains to be seen. You got to play it out. I don't think that it's just a runaway. I think what Auburn has, the feather in their cap, is they were beat badly, even though it was earlier in the season, and this is a whole new world right now in the tournament. But that's something that you kind of hold in the back pocket, the way they were done in the jungle, as much as they pride themselves on the way that they play at home. I think that's why people probably would be leaning toward Auburn handling this game. But, man, I ain't counting out Walter Clayton Jr.
No, it'd be hard to. What do you think is the key on the post for Florida? Do you think Condon's capable of creating enough problems to where they have to double him, which could open up some things on the perimeter that Auburn's done such a great job defending?
Yeah, we'll see. I think they're more of a not really a back to the basket team when you look at Florida, the way they have to play. And if you, I'm okay with Condon. If Condon goes and score 20 points on the block, man, pat him on the back, man. Good job. I didn't expect you to do that because of the way their guys play. They're more of a pressure release valve, can hit guys on back doors, can go with a dribble handoff and then get on the move and catch and go and finish, more so than I think giving the ball to them and say, hey, man, go give me a bucket with your back to the basket, like a Janai Broome would have to do. So I'm not sure if that'll open things up, but the problem with Auburn that they would have is a ball that was entered into the post, and then the big kicking it back out and going out and setting the screen, which gets the big defensively for Auburn having to move. So these guys can pick and pop. Condon, Thomas Houck, Hanlogden is good as a short roll. So it's no more just sitting there and protecting the basket. The bigs get moved away from the basket. That's why I think they present the biggest problems. Auburn is phenomenal when they have an anchor that's protecting the rim at all times. So you get them bigs on the move, it's a little different.
Ron Slay with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Can see him on the SEC Network covering the Final Four this weekend. Finally, if Auburn were to get past Florida, and I don't think that, I'm not saying it's going to be an easy job either way, Duke or Houston, but is there one or the other you think that they would rather have that Auburn fans should want to see there to make it a little bit easier or a little bit less heavy of a lift to win a national championship?
Man, give me Duke. I think they match up better against Duke. The guard play for Houston, I think, would neutralize Auburn, and it'll be a stalemate. Whether Auburn's guard scored 30 and Houston's guard scored 30. It'll just kind of cancel each other out. The battle in the paint, man, with the bigs that Houston has and are able to throw at them, and the way they rely on these guys and the way they control the paint, the way they get extra shot attempts up for this Houston bunch, and the way they take the air out of the ball. Out of the possession. They'll take that bad boy all the way down to 6 seconds each and every possession and make you have to account for everybody. So you put that ball up on the rim, and they get that reset of 20 seconds. That's a whole minute going off the game clock. So I think they match up better with a Duke because it'll be up and down. That's more their tempo. Baker Mazar's involved that way. Chaney Johnson's more of an impact that way. I love to see that matchup, how he takes on a Cooper Flag with that length and that size and that athletic ability, and knowing you get an opportunity to play against a number one pick. That right there, that would have me salivating. And I think Auburn is a team, when met with doubt, that's when they kind of come through, with their back against the wall. That's when they play their best. And we all know Bruce Pearl's a master motivator. So it'll be the old head versus the new head, looking at John Shire versus Bruce Pearl. So I think that'll be something that he'll hang his hat on. So I would like to see that matchup more so than anything else.
It'll be fun. Go get some breakfast tacos there in San Antonio. Avoid the Riverwalk. Stay far away from it, and enjoy the weekend.
Hey man, listen, I'm like big Charles Barkley. I'm looking out for the churros and everything else to come with it.
Thanks, Slay. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, yeah.
Ron Slay joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We've got Coach Hatcher, Chris Hatcher, Sanford head football coach, can be with us in studio later this hour. We'll talk spring practice with him. Before we move on to football, Greg, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust, complete full background checks, and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. They did your whole home packed up and move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, some of your feedback on early portions of the show today. Next, Mac and Cube in the morning. Chris Hatcher with us in our next segment in studio. Transfer portal update for you. Texas A&M, George Turkson, Solomon Washington, Andre Mills, all in the transfer portal. UConn's going to get Georgia guard Silas DeMary, 13.5 points, 3.9 boards, 3.1 assists last year. Trey Donaldson, former Auburn, Michigan guards, committed to Miami. Miami feels like they're getting a couple of guys in now. Georgia gets commitment from Cal guard Jeremiah Wilkinson, apparently the sixth man of the year in the ACC. I didn't know we did that. I didn't know we had that vote. That was a real award, but I guess he got it.
Yeah.
Cal guard, speaking of blue chips and throwing back to the 90s, Stephon Marbury II is in the transfer portal. Has not taken on the nickname Starberry.
I'm about to say, does he have Starberry shoes?
Spreewells were the spinners, right?
Yeah.
You had them.
No.
I thought you told us before you had them.
No, I had the AIs.
Oh.
The Iverson, the answers.
Kansas AJ Starr in the portal. And one that I want to get to a little bit later, quarterback Jaden Rashada is going to visit Western Kentucky this weekend.
School 4.
If you're like Greg and I, you completely missed that in January he left Georgia. Did not know. Apparently is not there anymore.
Had bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, we'll discuss that one. You can't keep up with all of it. It's impossible.
Hey, I think 4 schools in 2 years is not that big a deal.
Nobody knows how they're being treated.
Just saying. I didn't. That's right. You know what? It was the school's fault. I forgot about that.
These coaches are mean, man.
They're mean, and I want my money.
We are in the middle of flu season. Make your home healthy with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEP room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a train. Sanford head football coach Chris Hatcher with us in studio next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 7:45 Friday, April the 4th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Auburn will be in action in the Final Four on Saturday. Andrew Sports Medicine will be right there with them. There's a reason Auburn Athletics hand-selected Andrew Sports Medicine, Dr. Benton Imblem and Dr. Charles Pitts to serve as their team physicians. They provide the highest quality sports medicine care in an effort to keep the Tigers student-athletes safe, healthy, and competing at the highest level. If Andrew Sports Medicine the choice for Auburn Athletics, no doubt they should be your choice as well. Offices in Birmingham, Coleman, Gardendale, Hoover, Pelham, Trustville. Same-day, next-day appointments for acute sports injuries. Visit andrewsportsmedicine.com today to begin your journey of achieving victory over injury. Chris Hatcher, Sanford head football coach, in with us now. Coach, I saw today, final scrimmage of the spring. So I wanted to get you in, talk about your spring a little bit, talk about some of the state of college athletics. But what's on tap for your boys today? Last time you're going to get out there and hit a little bit.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. We're excited about it. Today's our last day. We've had a good spring thus far. Knock on wood, we've been fairly healthy during this time of the year. All of our O-linemen are still intact, as you would like to hear. So it's allowed us to get a lot of good reps. I really like our team. I only have one guy on offense that's played meaningful snaps last season, and that was our quarterback, Quincy Crittenden, coming back. And defensively, we have 3 starters coming back that played a lot of snaps last season. So it's a brand-new team, a lot of high school players that we signed last year that didn't play much that are getting the opportunity to play, a plethora of transfers we signed at the midterm, kind of figured out what they do well. It's the state of college football. Each year is an entirely different team, and you keep it real simple. Work techniques and fundamentals, find out what they can do, and then you install the more complex schemes in the summer when you find out who made it through the spring transfer portal.
It's interesting because you have such limited opportunities with a brand new team, like you alluded to. You have 15 practices. Like, how do you figure out what you have in that short amount of time?
It's very difficult because you have limited players at certain positions that make you have to limit the reps during practice. But you got to be very strategic on the amount of reps that you go in with. You have to be very detailed on how many each guy's going to get so that you can get that good evaluation on them. It's hard.
I would imagine. I don't even know how you do it. You had said, actually, we were talking in the break, that you were thinking about making your backup quarterbacks live because you have a bunch of guys you don't know who can do it, who can play. And I think that's a benefit because I need to see live bolts flying. A lot of guys look good on the driving range, but when we put a tee in the ground on the first hole, I don't know who can play. You know what I mean? So how do you, for quarterbacks, other positions, when you're thudding, you're not tackling the ground, what if a guy is great at extending plays, but we never find that out because we're in non-contact all spring and fall and summer? So how do you do that? How do you balance that? I've always wondered that.
Well, I don't know that there's a secret formula to that, but we just got a brand new defensive coordinator, Scott Sloan from Appalachian State, 2 weeks before we were to start spring practice. And so, I have it all planned out. We're going to thud this day. We're going to tag off this day. We're going to scrimmage this day. Well, we went through 3 or 4 practices, and he comes down to me and said, "Look, I don't know if these guys can tackle."
Right.
Because I don't know. Are they going to? Would they have made that tackle when they thud up? So,
and you're an offensive guy. Does anyone get tackled in the open field?
During the scrimmages.
During the scrimmage, but in practice.
Well,
no.
you have rules of engagement.
Right.
On that. And you're trying to keep you guys healthy, but it is football. So, we had to go one practice at the very end of practice. We just made it a live 16-play controlled scrimmage just so we could get a look at a few guys so he could see if he had them in the right position moving into the second half of spring drills. So it's really hard. And what really makes it difficult is, next week we'll meet with all of our players. The spring portal opens up in a couple weeks. And, when you go into June conditioning, you could have a whole new team and you start all over again right there. So the unknown drives you crazy this time of year.
Is there any portion of your scheduling that now goes around portal windows? Like, do you want to try to drag practice? Like, this has all been like up and down. It's a roller coaster. So I remember when we're not going to name, we want to name our starting quarterback because he's got to be a leader and he's got to run the team drills through the summer. And then we're not going to name our starting quarterback because we want to trap all our guys here and not tell anybody who it is. Now it's, you want to go ahead and name the starter so he doesn't leave. I mean, it's just all of these little fads in college football seem to sort of go one way, then the other way. How does scheduling affected by the portal being open, not being open, be it practice, be it workouts, anything like that?
Well, what you said earlier, you do have these conversations as a staff. Hey, let's try to get them all through to fall camp with you. We moved our spring ball up 2 weeks this year than what I traditionally have it, because of the transfer portal and because of the looming house settlement.
Sure.
If you have to cut your roster to 105, I wanted to be able to have these conversations with some of the guys that may not have made the 105. And then also I like to know, hey, are you coming back? Are you not coming back? Give me about 10, 12 days to make sure that I have a plan going into the portal on the specific needs that I have to have in order to have a successful football team.
Because it used to be, hey, let's have it as early as possible. If we get an ACL or a rotator cuff, maybe we get him back at some point in the season. And then it's, well, we got to give I think the strength coaches had a lot to do with it for a little while, where they said they got to have 2 months off, like not playing football, and then get them. And then it was, you wanted to have like a 1 workout cycle, practice, and then a conditioning cycle for fall camp. So it moves a lot, but I was just interested in how the portal affects everything.
Well, when I was at Valdosta State 25 years ago, and we weren't having these conversations. We had a great run.
Right.
The weather was nice in Valdosta, so we did spring ball in February to give our guys more time to train heading into the summer.
Right.
Now it's hard to go that early because you get so many transfers in at the midterm. And if they're transferring to Sanford or different places, a lot of them didn't play a lot of snaps. So you got to take some time to get them in shape to go through practice.
Yeah.
So I've just totally restructured my spring schedule due to the portal, due to the attrition that you have on your team. Am I doing it the right way? I have no idea. It's all brand new. There is no manual for what's going on now.
So how does that impact? I mean, I understand the calendar. I understand getting guys up to speed, acclimated to playing fast. I understand that. But based on your own personnel, your offense could change drastically. Now, you're not going to reinvent the wheel, but you might highlight, hey, you know what? We're a little better outside zone team. Hey, you know what? We're a little bit better in the quick game. Hey, you know what? This might be a chunk play offense with how we can run the ball and marry it up with play action, whatever it may be. How flexible do you have to be with install? Because you're not really 100% sure what you're going to be good at just yet.
Well, that's the $1 million question.
It's amazing, though.
We talk about that all the time, and I think that the type of offense that we run allows for a lot of flexibility due to the type of players that you have. For instance, we went through our normal install offensively. I'll speak on that side of the ball. Going through the off-season, January, February installs that you put in. And then we get to spring, and, we only have 5 scholarship offensive linemen. Okay, we got 11 on the team, so that allows us to go 1s and 2s during practice. And then it was just so much on them.
Yeah.
So after practice 4, we ran the counter, the inside zone, and 1 pass protection. And, boy, I tell you what, we've gotten so much better on the offensive line.
Right.
Because right now that's all those guys can handle, because none of them have ever played meaningful snaps in college football. So you have to make those decisions. I equate a little bit of our level to almost being like a junior college team a little bit, because if they're really good, you get them for 2 years on the front end, or if you get a transfer, you get them for 1 to 2 years on the back end. So the days of having complicated schemes and saying, hey, that guy, in a couple years, he's going to be really good because he's going to know what to do. Those days are out the window now.
Sure.
You have to build your schemes in order for guys to be, if they're physically capable of being able to go out there and play right away.
So why is the starting quarterbacks, the number 1 quarterbacks, never able to get hit?
Well, that guy, he played 11 games for me. I already know what he can do, Cole. I need to go find out what these other guys can do.
Maybe he needs to understand like physical acclimation a little bit more.
We're over here, Cole, those linemen, they just pound all practice, don't they?
There's never a left tackle that doesn't get hit in practice. Like, our left tackle's 3-year starter. Nobody ever says, well, he's not getting full speed reps today.
Well, if we do that sometimes with guys that have been there 3 or 4 years, but right now I don't have that luxury.
Guess what? That guy gets hurt.
I look after the O-line.
If that guy gets hurt, there's 3 people concerned on the team. The quarterback gets hurt, cancel the season.
He gets hurt. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Are you seeing that, Coach? You just talked about your O-line having basically one protection, 2 run plays, and excelling. Is the development at that position as difficult or more difficult than any right now based on all the movement?
Well, I think offensive line is the hardest, other than the quarterback. I think
You can say it's
offensive
harder than
line is
quarterback. It's okay.
it's close, okay, but it's close. Those guys are hard to find because if you have a good one, the big boys are going to come. They're going to come get him from you and go there and be a backup for them at a higher level.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Coach Leach, how he kind of still sticks with you in your coaching. There was something specific about how he coached you that I'd like you to share with our listeners on the other side. Chris Hatcher, Sanford head football coach, going to continue to hang out with us and talk some college football next segment. We'll still get to the Final Four through the rest of the show. A lot more to get to, but Hatch going to stick around and talk some football, talk some air raid. We'll talk Mike Leach, talk Sanford Spring. Let's talk college football, state of it, where it is today, where he thinks it's going, and more, all next right here on Jocks 94.5. Hour number 2, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Sanford head football coach Chris Hatcher hanging out with us for another segment or two, talking some college football, talking his football team. Before we continue with Coach Hatch, Greg, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Polar Bear Services has been the best for me, man. I call them for everything. Have been super appreciative of the experiences that I've had when dealing with Polar Bear Services. Just terrific. Really, really enjoy it. and I know you guys will enjoy it as well. Highly recommend you calling Wes and the guys. It's going to be 90 degrees today, chance of a record here in Birmingham, Alabama. But guess what? We got a freeze coming next Tuesday. That's just what we're living with here in Alabama. So make sure your system is up to the test with a system tune-up from Polar Bear Services. They can also handle plumbing and your home electrical needs, including the installation of a home generator system, which can be super helpful. We got storms coming through on Saturday night, Sunday morning again. Don't lose power. You can get that generator installed by Polar Bear Services. Remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heater, air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
All right, Hatch, if you didn't know, played for Mike Leach, coached with Mike Leach. And one of the coolest, funniest stories you've shared with me, Coach Hatcher, is about when you were playing for Mike Leach, and that one of his, I don't know if it was one of his famous sayings, but one of his go-tos constantly was that somebody was open on every play. No matter what the coverage was, no matter what your receivers were actually doing, and if you threw an incompletion, if you threw it away, if you took a sack, he says somebody's open every play. Every play, somebody's open.
Well, one thing I'll say about him, with all the odd stuff that he did, he's probably one of the best coaches I've been around. O-line coach, one of the best. Receiver coach, one of the best. And I think the genius in his quarterback coaching was that he never played quarterback. Okay, so there was no fundamentals being taught there. You learn the plays, and when you watch the film, the first question on every play goes, all right, where did you start? Basically, where did your eyes start? Where were you going? And then if you're watching film. Now this is after the play's over with. You don't have five guys trying to get you while you're in the pocket. And if you started to the right and the guy on the left was open, he goes, well, why didn't you start there?
Right.
But it was always every play somebody was open, and usually there is somebody open. But that was his deal. The man, hey, throw it to the guy that's open. That was how he coached.
How did he have so many rules, as far as not so many rules, because the offense was super simple, but he would also almost encourage you to go against the rules that he had coached to find, which makes sense. It almost goes back to his personality. It's like, well, if he's open over there, just throw it over there. But your progressions, you got to get over there first. So how did he kind of balance the two out?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the simplicity of the offense allowed you to get a lot of repetitions, and then you got to know the receivers and what they were capable of doing. The big thing is you go out there and you look for grass, and before the snap at the end of the day, his deal was, hey, find a completion before the ball's even snapped. So that you can get rid of the ball quickly, on time, and things of that nature. But you had so much freedom. If you had 4 verticals called and maybe the corner was loose, you could check the guy on a hitch out there. Or maybe the flat defender was inside leverage, corner loose, some type of bracket coverage, cover 3. What you could give the slider out a little snap route out there and get it out to him. But his method was a lot different. There's a lot of genius involved in it. I carry over a lot of that to my coaching. And I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing I learned from him and Hal Mummy is when you coach the quarterbacks, you work your drill work, you coach in the film room, but when you go to practice, you shouldn't be doing a lot of coaching out there. You got to let that guy go play, because you're not going to be on the field with him when he's playing on Saturday. And I learned a lot of that, and I think that's helped our quarterbacks be successful.
I always wondered with that offense, so much of it is just reps. I mean, it's just constant reps. And I look at the guys that have been developed into that offense, maybe not the crazy highest ceilings. Traditionally, there've been a few. I mean, Graham Harrell's super talented, and then in recent years, but the traditional old school Texas Tech, Mike Leach, throw it all over the yard, if we hand it off, it's a sign of weakness type of offense. It's changed drastically. So how much of it had to do with just the sheer reps that you were getting, where you're throwing it 400 times a practice, 300 times a practice, thereabouts, so that you have comfort when you release the ball, you know where it's going, and you're going to be super accurate with the ball as well.
Well, I think anything, you got to have a great capacity for boredom, doing the same thing over. I mean, you look at the going into Masters Week, you look at these professional golfers. I mean, how many hours do they spend on the range perfecting their swing? So when they get out there, it's just about picking the right club.
Right.
Same difference with the type of offense we have. The other thing I think is a misnomer. Not all of us are like Mike Leach. We like to run the ball. I mean, a couple of years ago, we led the league in rushing, and
Well, you get kicked out of the air raid system though if you run the ball too much with coach.
Well, that's why we call ours the hatch attack. So I'm kind of a hybrid of the air raid system. But all seriousness, at the end of the day, you got to think where Hal Mumme and Mike Leach and them started. They didn't start at maybe the schools that were the blue bloods of college football. You know, you
Right.
were at levels, maybe you didn't have the greatest talent. So you had to find an offset way of making those guys be successful and giving them a chance to win ball games. And that's kind of why they came up with this type of offense.
What would you say to folks that don't really know the air raid? And you said that you've morphed yours just a little bit. Like I had the bowl game and I talked to Shannon Dawson about it a lot. And he's like, listen, I don't run traditional air raid anymore, but those principles are always going to be there. It's a big part of what I'll always be, and I'll always carry it. What would you say to people who are watching certain football that a staple, a foundation of air raid, no matter how far away you've gotten from it or how much you still carry of it, should always be there? Like you could watch it and say, yeah, that's pretty much air raid stuff they're still running.
Yeah, well, let me say this first of all. I think the air raid really is just a way of thinking. Okay, it's not to overload your playbook. It's to have the plays you think you're going to need to win the ball game, get really good at them, and then give the QB the freedom to check you out of a play that wasn't maybe the best play called at that situation on the sideline. So again, it's a way of practicing. It's just a way of thinking about running your operation. But I would say the mesh play would probably, when you see that would be the one thing that comes to mind with the air raid system is running the mesh. I mean, there would be games when I played at Valdosta State that we would throw it 50, 60 times a game, and over half of them would be some form of the mesh play.
How would you describe to our listeners that maybe aren't super familiar with that? Like how can they recognize that? Like okay, that's mesh.
Well, if you see two crossers coming across the middle, usually two slots coming across the middle, they intersect. If it's man, they keep running. If it's zone, they sit down. And you'll see a lot of quarterbacks do that. If you watch the Chiefs, a lot of guys will run a guy in behind the mesh and sit him down, called an over the ball route. There's many different variations, but to me, when you see two guys crossing at about 6 to 8 yards over the center, that would constitute some form of a mesh play.
We were listening to a play call in the UFL game that I did on Sunday. I can't remember if it was actually Birmingham or DC. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was DC because a lot of what Frank Keiss carries has some air raid concepts to it from a passing game perspective, and it was 52 words mesh. And I'm just like, well, because of my time with you, I was like, well, here come a couple crossers right here. Like, just get ready for it. It's coming. So,
well, technically there should always be a guy open on the play because
right.
if it's zone,
it can be man and zone, right?
That's man and zone, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, you want to call plays you guys are familiar with, and I talk a lot with my QBs. I take out plays that they don't feel comfortable with. There's a plethora of plays out there, and we run a lot of plays that. I stole some of them from Alabama, some of the deep dagger shots and deals of that nature.
Crease shots.
But we just, we practice them, and those go into our repertoire each and every day.
It's amazing how much carryover there is from the offenses now. It feels like everyone has a variation of the air raid. Everyone's got some stuff, some concepts that Coach Leach ran, whether it's the slot fades. I mean, slot fades, like the play of everyone does that now. I mean, back in the day, it was never something that we talked a whole lot about. I wish we had slot fade back in the day. You have a ton of room back there. Rubs, stuff like that. I mean, we always had that, but that was more, Bill Walsh, Q8, sprint right, stuff like that. A lot of West Coast, a lot of air raid. Are there any other offenses that maybe have kind of become commonplace for everybody? Maybe Rich Rodriguez with some zone read mesh stuff. I mean, what else is there that everyone's running?
Yeah, I think that's, to me, the biggest thing you see that every offense has now is the zone, some form of the zone read.
Right.
That Rich had made famous at West Virginia back in the day. And then there's some form of, what we're talking about now is the air raid. And then I think the Art Briles system of a lot of the choice routes that people are running to give the receivers to be able to read the inside slots on different things. People are dabbling in that. That's hard to do. I've tried to do a little bit of it. It's hard to fit that in with all the other stuff because it takes so much precision.
Right.
Right there. But I think every offense, at the end of the day, you stole plays from different people. I remember when I coached at Kentucky, our offense came from Lavelle Edwards. I mean, that's where it came from at the end of the day with some Bill Walsh plays involved in it. But they did everything up under center at the time. So I remember we went out to visit the Denver Broncos while I was there. Raymond Berry lived out there. He played with Guy Morris for the Patriots, who was our O-line coach, and we went out there to visit. John Elway was really the first, quote, West Coast air raid quarterback that did everything in the shotgun. And, boy, we learned a lot of stuff from him on the timing aspects while we were out there. So, again, you're always evolving, trying to figure out what fits your scheme and fits your personnel the best.
I imagine a lot of that under center stuff was the timing off play action, different things like that. Like because you had a good fullback, really good running back, and so you wanted to marry all that up, and that allowed for the timing to work. Was the 90s Buffalo stuff, was that air raid stuff, like Jim Kelly, the K gun they called it, and that was the only offense I felt like until the run and shoot with Warren Moon that was heavy gun in the NFL early. But I've never heard those offenses be referenced as kind of semi-air raid, what they were doing.
Well, let me say this. The air raid started with a lot of the West Coast stuff, Bill Walsh and those guys, Lavelle Edwards out at BYU, and they had Ty Detmer and Jim McMahon and all that great slew of guys. Now the West Coast, you don't hear much about that offense. I think it's more people just kind of associate the air raid with that now. I think it's all about the same at the end of the day.
Ted Marchibroda was kind of credited with a lot of what they were doing in Buffalo. So,
well, when I still talk ball with Coach Mummy a lot, and he's in these spring leagues, and he got to work with June Jones at different times during the spring leagues, all the leagues that have sprung up, and he's gotten into a little bit of the run and shoot. He's got a few run and shoot packages within the air raid now, so it's pretty interesting stuff.
What's different about run and shoot and air raid?
It's just the little semi-roll that they do and the little choice routes that they give their slots. I don't understand it completely, and I'll assure you I do not call any plays that I do not understand completely.
Because there's a lot of theirs is under center too.
It is.
And the quick game stuff. Like I've talked to Andre Ware when I was on his crew, and I was just like, did it not make it that much harder to get the ball out on those quick routes when you're under center? And he's like, yeah, but if we would have been in gun, I've been waiting for the ball, and that anticipation would have probably thrown me off also because you're like, come on. He's like, at least under center, like I get it and I can throw it. Like I've got the ball right away. So it was kind of interesting to hear his thought process on how it helped him actually be quicker.
Right. Well, when Hal Mummy got to Valdosta back in 1992, and I was a sophomore, we did during camp, spring ball, the first 2 weeks and the first 2 weeks of camp. Every pass play, we ran it from up under center because he thought that was how you had to learn the timing of the play. And then you gradually move to the gun, and then you never went under center again.
Yeah.
But that was how you started every spring practice. It was miserable having to go up, take those snaps up under center.
Brutal. What do you make of some of the NFL offenses that we're seeing nowadays that have started to incorporate some college stuff? Is there a guy out there that you just love watching? It's kind of like a glutton for punishment. For me, it was for a while. I was watching the Rams a lot. I was watching the 49ers a lot. I really like some of the stuff that we've seen. I think Cliff Kingsbury is doing a great job at Washington with what he's doing. I loved watching Miami last year. I spent a lot of time watching the Dolphins. Is there like an offense that you're kind of intrigued by right now that maybe you've spent some time on?
Yeah, I like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because Andy Reid, he's a West Coast guy that kind of does a lot of the stuff that we do. If we pull a lot of plays from them and show our guys that, hey, we run the same plays.
Mm-hmm.
We're running the same plays, maybe a little different motion, different formation, but
sure.
But I like what they do because it fits the philosophy that I know. And plus Mahomes to me is a really fun guy to watch. The only thing I hadn't figured in the NFL, if I'm going to sign a quarterback for first round, I would come in and I would call it in his terminology, early on to give him a chance to be successful. Like,
sure.
Hey, look, here's the plays we like to run. Did you run any of these in college? We
Yeah.
did. We called this one cross. We called this one this one. And I would just change the terminology
Oh, sure.
to let that guy go out there and play a lot faster early on to see if he could be successful in the league.
An NFL offensive coordinator ego, you think, is going to do that?
I didn't say they were going to
Yeah,
do that. I'm just
sounds-
nobody's calling me to be an OC in the
I get
NFL,
it.
but that would be what I would do.
Coach, I want to ask you another question about Coach Leach, that how you think he might handle some things today. We'll do that on the other side. Greg, before we do that, you have to wait to hear from Coach Hatcher, but one thing you never have to wait for is your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. The urgent care officer can be seen the same day in several locations to make it easy on you. You go and check them out. You'll be appreciative that you did. And they can get you in on Fridays and Saturdays. You know the plans are crazy right now. Kids sports, tons of stuff to have going on. Now is the time to get in there and get your teeth cleaned, whitened for free if you have a routine teeth appointment. So go and check them out. Hoover, Homewood, Alabaster, Trussville. They've done a great job of making sure that they've opened up places near you. So like I said, Family Care Dental, Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, now open in Trussville. Call them at 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental, 874-9605.
All right, we'll ask Coach Hatch something about today's technology and how Coach Leach might handle that right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Don't forget about your CBD store. If you have a pet in your household that struggles getting around, arthritis setting in, their product can help with that. Products that can help with your pet's anxiety or skin care. Products that can help with your skin care. If you want to focus better throughout the course of the day, get a better night's sleep, the Trim by SunMed is on the shelves now at your CBD store if you're looking to lose a little bit of weight here before the warm months come. And like Greg said, some of the warm months are here. It's just that it's going to be cold again the next week. So your CBD store has a lot of products for a lot of ailments that can help your daily routine be better. Largest brick and mortar CBD retailer in the world. Stop by one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver. Trussell just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. It wasn't too much time that fell in between it. Chris Hatcher, Sanford head football coach, hanging out with us, who played for and coached with Mike Leach. We had an interesting tweet coming into the show that I thought would be a good question for you. What do you think the helmet communications would be like with Mike Leach if that were if that would have come around when he was still coaching?
Miserable. He couldn't have gotten the play in that away. He would have had to signal the play. I mean, it would have been too long because he would have had to give you a dissertation on what you did the previous play and then why he's calling the current play.
Which is
that's a great question.
Because his play sheet is an index card, literally.
That is well, you've talked to me. Talk slow.
That's fair.
But golly,
he
that
got
was
distracted too. Like he'd be asking why the ball boy fell down or something. Like, I mean, I could see him just getting on something totally random.
Absolutely.
Have you seen this mascot over here?
That would be a great. That's a great question. I have no idea. That would be a bad day for a quarterback if you had to listen to Coach Leach every play, call it out. It was bad enough on the signaling because he was a left-handed signaler. He was left-handed.
Yeah.
And man, he was a terrible signaler. So you just had to adjust to him over there and kind of figure out where he was going with the play.
When he'd look at his little pad of
it was literally an index card.
It was tiny. Like, how small was the font?
It's pretty small.
Yeah,
it's pretty small. But you just again, you pretty much knew what was going to be called next when he started the process there. But I remember when we were at the memorial for him at State, and Bob Stoops got up, and that was one thing Bob Stoops kind of made fun of him on. It was his signaling techniques that he used. But what a super guy! But golly, what a great question. I'm glad we did not have that helmet-to-helmet communication when I played.
How do you think that, as far as putting different things, well, I don't say how he may have done this with you, but we hear some quarterbacks say, like, I'll share an example with you. We talked to Jackson Dart last year, and one of the questions we asked him was, like, how often does Lane just give you something out of nowhere? Like in a game, he'll say, we need to go to this. We haven't worked it, but let's just try it. He goes, he has signaled plays in the headset, called plays that I've never heard of. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we had a game a couple weeks ago, and he's like, Oldsmobile 736-8. And he's like, Coach, we don't have that. He goes, we haven't put that in. He goes, no, we've never put that in. I don't know what that play is. He's like, I just had to go run like inside zone. He's like, so he'll bring stuff up that we've from other places that have never worked. And he said, then, he'll get on the board on the sideline and say, we're putting this in right now. And he'll put a play in, and they'll go try to run it. For you nowadays, or for Leach when he was coaching you or you coached with him, as far as doing something on the spot like that? Is that something that's ever been real, something that happens?
Never. If we didn't practice it and rep it, we were not going to call it in the game.
See, that's what I love about Leach is it's all air raid, new school, throw the ball. But the actual coaching philosophy was about as old school as you can get. Like, let's have 5 plays and let's be as good as we can at those.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is any coach will tell you this. You hope you pick the right schematics to beat that particular team. And then on the flip side of it, you always want to make sure you have an answer because you want to you don't want to go through a whole game and not be able to give your guys a tool to help them have been successful in that particular game. But if we didn't rep it, we didn't call it in the game. There was never a call that I did not know and had not repped many, many times before.
What do you make of kind of where things have gone with the amount of guys that are kind of looking at the portal and putting their roster together, but then when they have an offensive philosophy, they recruit to the offensive philosophy as opposed to recruiting the best player and then building the offensive philosophy around it. How do you stand on that? Because I don't know if there's a right answer. I'm just curious about it.
Well, the way I look at it is I just try to go get the best player and then find out what they do well and then cater the schemes to that particular group of guys, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't change the plays. You know, when I was at Georgia Southern, we had a quarterback who won the Walter Payton Award, Jason Foster, and he rushed for 1,700 yards.
Right.
We were running the air raid.
Yeah.
You know, but this guy ran the ball 20, 25 times a game. We just call more of those plays because he was really good at it.
Sure.
So, again, with our level, you know, where you really have to go find those hidden gems. You go get the best players you can find. And like this upcoming season, if we're 11 personnel more than 10 because we have a great tight end, so be it. We'll run our offense out of that personnel. That's just the way we do it.
Gotcha.
There are a lot of folks saying that the high school recruiting is being hurt by the portal. At your level, is that accurate or is it the other way around?
I think it's a mixed review. I think it's kind of gone year by year. You know, we still recruit high school players a lot. I think where the high school players get hurt a little bit is if I lose a starting defensive tackle for, say, this year to the portal who started 3 years for me, okay? Man, I can't go rely on a high school freshman to come in there and plug that hole. I got to go to the portal and get an older guy that's had some snaps, you know, to get me through the transition of developing the younger player. I think that's where it hurts the high school players a little bit due to what teams need because of departures of guys that maybe they were not anticipating leaving.
Right. It's interesting to hear kind of the different philosophies and what's around it and how it's going to be. Coach, we appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us. It's been fun just talking football. So thanks for hanging. We need to do it again more often.
Appreciate you guys. Just let me know.
Yes, sir. Chris Hatcher, Sanford head football coach. Final spring scrimmage today. Is it open to everybody?
Everybody. Come on.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
There you go. Head over there to Sanford. You want to watch a little live semi-tackle football, except for the starting quarterback today at
What's the
Sanford.
matter with this guy?
He's just relentless. It's ridiculous.
All right, we'll be back with more Isaac Trotter talking Final Four right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:31 a.m. Friday, April the 4th. Going to switch gears and talk a little Final Four here in just a moment with Isaac Trotter. First, I want to tell you about my friends at Game Day Men's Health. This is what you need to do if you are feeling on edge, if you are lacking sleep. Game Day Men's Health wants to help you, and there's multiple ways in which they can do it. First off, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You get a free consultation. You are going to get a free PSA test, a free testosterone test, find out what your baseline health is right away. Now, you might need to lose weight. They have multiple weight loss programs. They have peptides to help you out with different ailments, and obviously have testosterone replacement therapy that they can help you with. Any of those services comes with a 10% discount when you mention Mac or Cube when you walk into the front door. Just go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now and sign up for that free consultation and see what they can do for you. All right, Isaac Trotter covers college basketball. He joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Isaac, we get 4 1 seeds for just the second time ever. If you looked at these as who is the true overall number 1 seed now, having gone through the majority of the tournament, who would you place at the top and who would you place fourth between these 4 teams?
Great question. You know, I think for me, I think Duke has taken that mantle as the best team in college basketball. But to be honest, I feel like they're extremely vulnerable this weekend. I'm getting nervous about this one against Houston the closer that this game goes. So I'll go Duke 1, Houston 2, Auburn 3, and Florida 4. But again, you're kind of picking this to find like the areas of frustration with these teams because they on paper, they have a lot of strength. This should be an all-timer down here in San Antonio. But I'll tell you what, as I'm kind of walking around the Riverwalk here last night, there are a lot of Auburn fans. I thought this was going to be a Houston type of takeover type of event. No, like Auburn has traveled extremely, extremely well. I think the Tigers will be tuned up and ready to go.
When you think about where things are kind of going for Auburn and just the growth that we've seen from Tahad Pettiford from the start of the season to where he's at now, an amazing amount of growth. Chaney's, I think, got a chance to be pretty good. There's so many guys. Denver's got a chance to be pretty good. Janai Broom's been amazing all year. But who would you say is the guy outside of Janai Broom, the obvious, that needs to have a big game against Florida to push them into the championship game?
Yeah, no, when I kind of like was breaking this down and watching a bunch of the tape about this, you know, I think that Chad Baker-Mazara has a matchup that he has to exploit. At times this year, Florida has struggled against that archetype, the 6'7" ball handling wing who could make threes in transition, but also in the half court. You can kind of get to that pull up against Florida's drop coverage. You know, a good Chad Baker-Mazara game makes me think that Auburn's winning this. Like I really believe that. And the other aspect about this too is just his mentality. Like when he comes out aggressive and hunting his shot and ready to go, that could be a huge deal. And at times this year, if you watch Florida closely, I think the one issue with them is sometimes they lose shooters. And Chad Baker-Mazara is a guy who is like one of the best shooters in college basketball, over 37% from 3 this year on high volume. I think if he has a big game, that's the differentiator for Florida and Auburn, which honestly, both these teams are built similarly, have a lot of great guards, but that one wing position is, I think, where Auburn can separate it. So
where should the defense be focused for Bruce Pearl against this Florida offense that has had multiple guys kind of step up and be their go-to at different points in time? When we've seen Walter Clayton in this tournament be dominant at times, we've seen Condon during the course of the year be physically dominant inside, kind of was against Auburn when they played in Auburn about a month ago. Where do you think primarily the defense has to be successful for Bruce Pearl's team against the Gators?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is understanding the scouting report with Walter Clayton Jr. Like if you are going under on ball screens against him, he will step back and absolutely drill that. And in that first matchup, they made multiple scouting report errors, did not guard him properly, and he made them pay for every single sin. Like he just did. So I think understanding the scouting report on that, understanding that when he drives right, he is a lot less effective than when he drives left. So understanding those type of little nuances. And then, as weird as it sounds, I think that Auburn's best defense might be running quality half-court offense. Because there are times where if you watch these games, Mike Burgomaster, Auburn's offensive coordinator, is losing his mind on the sideline as he watches this team just dribble for another step-back three. Those step-back threes lead to long rebounds, which leads to transition, which is Florida's best. Like they're at their best in the open floor, running up and down with those bigs just flying up and down for rim runs or open threes. Auburn, when they run offense, they get great looks. They're going to be able to set their defense. They're going to be able to get back and actually match up. Their best defense their offense in this game.
What? So explain to me that a little bit more. I understand the thought process, but do you envision this being a track meet, or do you think this has a chance to be kind of a knockdown drag out?
Yeah, I think it really does come down to just some of these Auburn guards. I think they play with such confidence, and Bruce Pearl has done such a good job of like basically saying, like, do them, like, be yourself, go out and play at a high level, and that I think is a good mentality to have over the regular season. But I think in a game like this, they have to know where their bread is buttered, and that's with Janai Broom in the paint. And I think slowing it down, actually running offense, trusting their stuff, getting it and playing through Broom actually helps them. Because if you kind of look at half-court offensive efficiency, which is something I really hone in on in this tournament, Duke is elite, Auburn is elite, but Florida and Houston, that's not necessarily the strength of their games is half-court offensive efficiency. They're not near the top of the leaderboards compared to where Auburn and Duke is. So I do think it benefits Auburn to slow down just a little bit, because then when they get reckless, that's when Florida could find some open looks. Whereas conversely, Florida's going to really try to speed this game up, try to get Janai Broom running, try to get him tired, try to put him in a ton of ball screen actions. And that, I think, the pace battle here between Auburn, who I think is better suited to go slow, and Florida, who's better suited to go fast, whoever wins that pace battle probably wins this game too.
Isaac Trotter covers college basketball for CBS, the 24/7 Sports Network. Let's go to the other side quickly. I don't know which direction you're leaning. It feels like the majority of the world is on Duke for this game. We know both have length, both have physicality, both can play defense. I think Houston probably shoots the ball better than people give them credit for. What's the deciding factor? Is it just the individual talent that Duke's going to throw on the court? Is it the Houston defense? Is it somebody being able to find their pace of play? What decides that side of the Final Four?
Rebounding. Whoever wins the rebounding in this one, I think, is going to win in this game. I think Houston, their offensive rebounding is unbelievable, and it feels like they score on every time they get an offensive rebound. It's a kick-out three to LJ Cryer, Milos Uzan, or Emmanuel Sharp. It's like when those second-chance opportunities is going to be awesome. And this year, for the most part, Duke's first-shot defense is outstanding. Nothing at the rim. Cayman Malawach is like he blots out the sun at the rim. Teams are shooting like 48% at the rim when he's on the floor, and they have terrific positional defenders. But that second shot defense on those offensive rebounds, those scramble drills, I think that is where Houston can find its money. And I'm leaning more towards Houston covering the number at 5.5. Now I think it's closed at 4.5. I think Duke finds a way to win, but this one's going to be a grimy one. I think both these teams are incredibly well coached. We haven't seen Duke at a ton of super close games down the stretch. Houston, a veteran team with three guards who shoot over 40% from three. If they keep this close down the end with that rebounding battle, I think they have a real chance to win this one. I lean Duke just on like the money line or just to win straight up. But man, this is going to be a knock 'em out, drag 'em out fight, I think.
But is there any way? I mean, how do you attack Duke's length? I just honestly don't even know how you do it. After watching their performance against Alabama, it's just the most demoralizing thing. It's just you can never feel like you can get any decent shots. So can Houston adequately do that?
You hope and pray. That is your best bet right now against Duke. Defensively, they are a complete juggernaut with, I think, 5 all-ACC type of defenders at all 5 positions. Now, I do think that Houston's guards are kind of built for this. Like they're built to beat switches. Milos Uzan's going to get switches onto Malawach or some of the bigs or whoever, and he's terrific getting to that mid-range jumper. LJ Cryer, same type of deal. Emmanuel Sharp, I think he can stretch the floor a little bit because he doesn't just take regular threes. He takes like logo threes. So you're making the floor a little bit deeper, more coverage on the floor that teams have to guard. So it's about those guards for Houston. If those 3 guards can win those individual matchups that Duke has been, forcing teams to play with all year, that's the differentiator. And then I think you also just X's and O's wise, those baseline drives, when those guards get baseline drives, I think Duke can be a touch vulnerable on those 45 cuts. And those are the opportunities. Houston has to move the ball, play with pace, and in the half court, just make really smart decisions because like we've talked about all year, like this Duke half-court defense is the best in college basketball for a reason.
Isaac, what matchup would you like to see for the national championship Monday night?
Well, I predicted Duke and Auburn, so selfishly, I would love to see that rematch again. I think it's so fun when Duke and Auburn would get to have like a collision course again. It'd be the second year in a row where we get the matchup in the national championship game that everybody kind of thought we might get in November, right? Like last year was like, man, UConn and Purdue. look like the best two teams. Could we get that in April? That's the kind of the matchup that I would love to see, just Duke against Auburn again, because I think if you're trying to beat Duke, like you kind of need a post-up wagon, and I think Jani Broome can be that type of guy. And just the vets of Auburn, the mid-major transfers that they've landed against the 5 stars of Duke, like it's just cool stylistically how these teams are built. Could not be more different, but they're two of the best teams in college basketball. That would be the matchup I'd love.
We appreciate you hopping on with us, Isaac. Great stuff, great breakdown. Enjoy the weekend. We'll catch up soon.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Isaac Trotter, CBS Sports, 24/7 Sports Network, covers college basketball. His thoughts on the Final Four, what it's going to be, how it's going to play out. We'll discuss it on the other side. We still have Dave Shumati. He's going to join us, who is the play-by-play voice for Duke Radio, as the Blue Devils obviously taking on the Houston Cougars and the other side of the Final Four. We'll begin to discuss how we think it's going to play out and ask the question again that we asked earlier in the show. What needs to happen for Auburn? What will satisfy you as an Auburn fan? If you're not an Auburn fan, who are you rooting for in this one? Is it one of the SEC teams? Is it another team? As we know that there are a lot of SEC football fans that root for Duke basketball. That's unfortunately a real thing.
Wow.
Well, in North Carolina and Kansas and others. But not saying you should be that way, but there are some that are.
You're down on that. You're down on that approach.
It's not something that I think is
not something you cooperate in.
I'm not in that camp.
Not your camp.
Not me. Not my camp. Nope.
Not me.
Mm-mm.
Can't do it.
Not going to do it. All right. We'll discuss Final Four right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. What needs to happen to satisfy you as an Auburn fan in this Final Four? Is it get to the championship game? Is it win or bust? What should it be for Auburn fans heading to watch Bruce Pearl? As you heard Isaac Trotter say, that there are a lot of Auburn fans. Their second person, Ron Slay, said that earlier today in San Antonio, getting set for the Final Four. What would you view as is it already a success, Greg? I mean, you're number one overall seed in the tournament. You're in the Final Four. You're going to have to go up against 2 1 seeds to win a national championship. Is it a success now, or should it be national championship game one step further than Auburn has never been?
I mean, perfect world, it'd be a national championship game.
Yes.
I mean, obviously. But I also am of the belief, I am a little bit more realistic than most. Like, I acknowledge that getting this far is incredibly difficult. Winning 4 games in the tournament is incredible. Winning 5 games in the tournament, ridiculous. Winning the whole thing, absurd. Like, unlike college football, who, by the way, there's only 12 teams that make it. Making the playoffs is a remarkable achievement. Making the tournament, it's fine. It's good. Good, solid year to be expected with the resources that Alabama and Auburn have and other teams in the SEC have. Making the tournament should be expected at this point. But getting to the Final Four, to me, it's already a success. But knowing this year's team, I would go one step further. And knowing how hard it's going to be to win in 2 years, and to get back to this level in 2 years, and knowing that you might not have a collection of talent like this in the future, with veterans like this and a presence on the inside, on the outside like this, knowing that that's not a guarantee, it'd be a really nice year to go and win it, because this is a year they've clearly had circled for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one that you look at and say the opportunity is there. This team has the capabilities with the supporting cast that the anchor, if you will, Janai Broom has around him, the depth, being able to play physical. I did think it was intriguing to hear Isaac Trotter say that the other side of this Final Four, Duke and Houston, will come down to rebounding. And I kind of thought about that from the Auburn perspective. And how much of this game against Florida is going to come down to that, because both of these teams are great defensively. Auburn's 3rd in the nation in blocks. They're 11th in the nation in 3-point defense percentage at 29.6. Florida is not far behind. They are 9th in 3-point percentage defense at just 29.6 as well, but a little bit ahead of Auburn there. Both these teams defend the perimeter well. Both these teams have length, have physicality. Is rebounding going to be a massive portion? Is it going to be the reason that one of these two teams wins this game? Second chance opportunities and maybe preventing second chance opportunities?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of those, when a game like this, how much do you think momentum factors in? And I feel like second chance points, things like that, it's kind of crazy how much that can be a factor in a game with such high stakes and such high emotions.
I think momentum's going to be huge. And I think that I don't know who the advantage would go to there if you're talking about momentum swings, because we stated this almost for the entire second half of the regular season and in the postseason, that Auburn has had these sort of lulls where they don't play elite or great basketball, but yet they've been able to overcome that on most nights. Then you also have Florida against Texas Tech, where a lot of people look at them and probably say, hey, they're not the basketball team we thought they were.
Yeah.
They had a stretch of sort of bad hoops there for a little bit, but it wasn't as dominant as it had been. I think that has soured a lot of people on Florida, but when you start talking about the momentum for these two teams, like who can gain it, why, how, keep it, I think they both have guys that can erase it and take it from the other team. They both have, think about the streaky players you've seen, like Miles Kelly's been super streaky. Walter Clayton's been super streaky. Obviously, Tahad Pettiford here in the postseason has had these moments, these runs. Denver Jones as well. So maybe it's not as much, Greg, the momentum. It's that who can find it at different times, like who can go on those runs, who can have those streaks. I think that's probably going to be huge, because I don't look at this as being a slow-paced game, really.
No, gosh, no. I don't think anyone anticipates it being a slow-paced game. I'd be surprised if it was. But I do know when I watch Golden, and I just look at how good he's been in significant situations, I am increasingly amazed how often he gets an easy bucket that is uncontested out of a timeout. I am amazed at how often an inbounds play under the basket results in points. I'm amazed at how when his team has needed a timely stop, they dial up perfect defensive play where they trap the guy that's got the ball and all of a sudden they force a turnover. Like, you watch them, it is pretty amazing when you look at how often they create moments in which they stymie an opponent's momentum and or they create it themselves out of a timeout or a stoppage of play. So I'll be curious to see how much those situations factor into this game on Saturday, because in a game with great momentum swings, that could be huge.
Could be massive. And it's just how do you manage those moments? And that's where I think this Auburn team being so veteran laced, it has benefited them greatly as to when those swings go against them and how to continue to keep those going. We talked about the Michigan State game, how you got off to such a hot start. I mean, remember the run? I think it was probably mid-December, maybe it was mid-January, where we came in here on like 4 consecutive Mondays and just talked about how great Auburn started. 18-2, 9-0, 11-1,
Right.
just right out of the gate. And you began to wonder, what if it doesn't go this way? How's it going to look? Because they had been so good starting so many consecutive games out. But I think that's the differential there, is that there have been moments that have gone against them. You come out of the gate against Michigan State, 26-3 or something, 21-7. And then all of a sudden Michigan State puts their run together before half. You build a little bit of a lead and you're able to hold on to it because you were able to offset Michigan State starting to make those runs of their own. I think it's a good point. And I would probably lean, not that I think Auburn has the capability to get hotter than Florida, because Florida's got guys that can, once they get going, but maybe just being a little bit more mature, that could potentially lead to be advantage Auburn of the momentum swings, managing those and how they go in this game.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think about Auburn, though. They have such veteran players. I mean, do you think Janai Broome is going to allow, do you think Janai Broome's going to allow some type of momentum to get away from him? Like, at this point, look, is he a little emotional? Sure. But he's been around for so long. I mean, do you think he's going to allow, Chad Baker-Mazara to do something dumb in a game like this? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I would doubt it.
Yeah, I just have a hard time envisioning that. So,
I don't think that's going to be a problem in this game at all. I mean, he's been pretty well behaved through the tournament. And
sure.
I think that I don't know if the conversations grow, but I think the self-awareness probably grows as to, we're one win away from playing for a national title. It's the silly stuff probably needs to just stay away.
Yes.
It doesn't need to really happen here. But it's going to be a fun game to watch, obviously, for a lot of different reasons. And you'll be able to hear it right here on WJOX. Andrew Sports Medicine is going to be there with Auburn in San Antonio. Why? Well, it's mainly because they're the best. We know that. But there's a reason that Auburn Athletics hand-selected Andrew Sports Medicine's Dr. Benson Emblem and Dr. Charles Pitts to serve as their team physicians. They provide the highest quality of sports medicine care in an effort to keep the Tiger student-athletes safe, healthy, and competing at the highest level. If Andrew Sports Medicine is the choice for Auburn Athletics, there's no doubt they should be your family's number one choice for sports medicine and orthopedic care. Andrew Sports Medicine has 7 locations across central Alabama, from Birmingham, Coleman, Gardendale, Hoover, Pelham, and Trussville. They offer same-day, next-day appointments for acute sports injuries. Visit AndrewSportsMedicine.com today to begin your journey of achieving victory over injury. Is there one thing that sticks in your mind about Bruce Pearl's team finding this victory against Florida? Do you think got to shoot the ball well, like got to be good from behind the perimeter, or have to rebound well, have to block shots, have to challenge the perimeter defensively? Like, what is the main thing that sticks out for you as it pertains to Auburn finding a win against Florida Saturday?
Probably, as much as anything, I think it's Janai playing great and them figuring out a way to minimize the impact Clayton has on the game. I'm not saying you can minimize it or eliminate him. That ain't happening. But if he goes for 30, problems. If he goes for 16 on 4 of 13 from the floor, cooking with gas.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just who is that Robin to his Batman, and how good can they be? Does it need to be 3 different guys at 3 different times? But as we have mentioned multiple times here in the postseason, somebody's got to step up opposite Broome, because there were times down the stretch where he was still pretty good and it wasn't enough. Then there were times down the stretch where he wasn't as good and they made it enough. So if it's Denver Jones, if it's Miles Kelly, if it's Tahad Pettiford, Chaney Johnson, who is that other that could show up and potentially help push Auburn over the Florida Gators in the Final Four? There'll be an SEC team playing for a national championship Monday night, no matter what. And like Coach Hatcher was talking to us in one of the breaks, like almost at all four.
Yeah, right.
But you got half of it, and you're going to have at least one in the national championship game. We'll hear from Bruce Pearl on the other side on the Final Four next. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Final Four on a lot of people's minds as we head into it, begin to talk about it, and going to get it this weekend. Bruce Pearl at Media Day yesterday on being an underdog in this Final Four.
Like Houston's won national championships. They've got history with Guy Lewis. They've been here before. You know, Duke's, that story's been over and over again, right? And Billy Donovan took Florida here, won a couple national championships, so Florida's got more history. We come in as the overall number one, but we're probably considered the fourth best team here. right now. So there is nothing new, and I prefer the underdog role rather than having to prove that we're as good as we say we are. So we're going to take that underdog role into the Final Four and see if we can capitalize on it.
It just makes me chuckle. Like every one of these coaches now, they all just play the underdog role. You're the number 1 overall seed. Feel great about it, right? Like I feel like number 1 overall seed. I don't think anyone's viewing you as the underdog at this point, right?
No. I mean, I
love it.
You have to a certain extent. You got to go find some sort of disrespect.
Yeah, 100%. You're never gonna. I'm not going to be mad at you for looking at it that way. By the way, I just think it's funny how often that card gets played. It's like, I mean, number 1 overall seed. I don't think anyone views you as the underdog. I think if anything, people view you as the team to beat, and probably should.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd be overly concerned about what the spread even is, as opposed to just going out there and saying, this is how we need to win this game. This is what it's going to take for us to win this game. But we know what these coaches do. They find ways to motivate. They find ways to sort of get their guys' attention just a little bit more. Not that feels like you have to do that at all in the Final Four. You're 1 game away from playing from a national championship, 2 wins from a national title, which is rare, hard, difficult. A lot of people say this is the most difficult championship in sports because of the run you have to go on to be able to get there. Obviously, one of the bigger questions everybody has is Auburn motivated, or what will motivate the Tigers, but what's Johni Broome going to look like? What is his health going to be? Bruce Pearl commenting on that heading into this matchup with Florida.
Today was the first day he moved and practiced, so I was glad to see him. Obviously, good to see him out there. And the one thing Johni Broome showed in this NCAA tournament, that there was another level, there was another gear. Everybody keeps watching him and wondering, when is he going to fizzle? When is he going to not show up? And he again managed to step up. He was 10 for 13 against Michigan State, and that was a huge difference for us. Now, look, Florida recognizes that, and Florida's bigs are a little bigger and a little bit more athletic than Michigan State's or Michigan's bigs. But Johni was the MVP of the South region, and we rode him hard, and we're going to ride him hard again on Saturday.
And he's got to be your guy, Greg. He's got to be the anchor that takes you to a potential national championship, or at least a national championship berth. But what does that tell you about where his health is? If Bruce Pearl is confidently letting you know, we're not going to shy away from giving him the ball. We're not going to shy away from him being the foundation of this football team or this basketball team. He's got to be the one that gets us there.
I mean, it doesn't change my thought process. I think that's kind of par for the course. I would fully expect him to be the guy that is being utilized in a game like this. I mean, this is win or go home, biggest game in the history of your school, or second biggest game in the history of your school. You want to ride your best player. And Johni Broome's been that from the beginning. So I think it's an embrace of what the reality is. And I can't say it's overly surprising to hear him be very outspoken about what's needed from his best guy.
Yeah, I do think for Auburn fans, it should give you, excuse me, a little bit more comfort, a little bit more confidence that Broome can be what he has been. And because you brought up a great point when this all came up Monday, Tuesday. We're breaking down the games from over the weekend and last week and talking about moving forward. And you asked the question that I haven't heard a lot of people ask. When has Johni Broome been 100%?
I don't remember one.
Like you said, Maui?
Seriously. I mean, like we said it almost jokingly, but there's a lot of truth in that statement. I don't remember the last time he was even dating back to last year. He was banged up last year.
And has been pretty good being banged up.
He's been fine. I mean, it's not like, would I rather be healthy? Of course. But is it the end of the world? Nah, not really. Not at this point. Not when you got 2 games to go. If he was this banged up in, say, January, I'd be a little concerned. But I think at this point, you're so close at the finish line, just continue to push forward.
Absolutely. So it's Johni Broome going to potentially be the go-to guy again for this Auburn basketball team. Not a lot of people surprised by that. And they'll get Florida, a team that they had their struggles with a little over a month ago. That's one that you look at and say, all right, it obviously matters. It's a big portion of this matchup, what it's going to be. Florida comes in with confidence, knowing they had success against Auburn at their place. Florida, a 2.5-point favorite in this game, 34-4. You'll get it at 5:09 on CBS on Saturday. Auburn comes in at 32-5. Does Florida need to tinker with the lineup at all based on what they've done in this postseason? Do you feel like a bigger lineup, a smaller lineup would be more advantageous against this Auburn team?
I kind of think bigger. What do you think?
Just challenge them?
Yeah.
Challenge Broom, maybe get Cardwell in foul trouble?
I think that would be the goal. I mean, I don't know how – I mean, maybe I'm just too much centered around what transpired last week. But if there's one thing I learned last week on Saturday evening at I don't recall what time, 10 o'clock Central, I realized that length is a real problem in basketball. Took me 36 years and 10 months to figure that out, but the bigger the better. It's the way I look at it. So if I'm Florida, if I have length at my disposal and that can give me an advantage, I'd put it out there.
Absolutely. So it's an interesting part of this tournament, the dynamic, especially that you have an Auburn basketball team that lost to Duke, defeated Houston, lost to Florida, and is now looking at potentially, playing two teams in back-to-back games that they have already played this season on a run to a national championship, the final two games on the way to that run. We'll see how it plays out. Don't really know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's going to be entertaining. I think both these games have a chance to be fantastic. I know there's people that are complaining about the lack of upsets and no Cinderella really in the story here for this Final Four, Greg, but I think this thing has a chance to live up to all the hype and be two just awesome basketball games Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised that these weren't really entertaining games. I mean, regardless of how they all play out and how competitive. Look, on paper, they look to be very competitive. But, let's be real. It doesn't always materialize. But that's not the game's fault. Sometimes the team just has their A game. And could that happen in this case? Of course. But it also could have it happen to, go the other direction where you think it's going to be a blowout and it's a thriller. So you never really know exactly how it's going to play itself out, but I'm pretty optimistic that both these games are going to be really, really entertaining.
Absolutely. All right, so a lot more to get to on that. Your calls, 800-239-9569. Tweet into the show as well, at Mac and Cube. Not only what the expectation is, but what needs to happen to satisfy Auburn fans. Who you're rooting for in this Final Four. Is there a coach that you want to see win it? Is there a player that you want to see win it? Is there a program that you want to see win it? When you think about it from that perspective, Greg, of just kind of other aspects that you're looking forward to, guys that you want to see succeed. I mean, listen, I grew up hating Duke. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like I did not like Duke when I was a kid. I don't mind seeing Duke lose. It never bothers me.
That is shocking.
But
you always felt a bit like a Dookie, but that's all right.
Don't even know what that means, but no, was not a team that I ever really rooted for.
Just feels like you'd be a Duke fan. You just have so much in common.
Sorry, Cherokee Parks wasn't a guy that was easy to root for me, but just wasn't really what I had in mind as far as what I wanted to see be successful. Nonetheless, John, what are you rooting for in this Final Four? Like, what is there a player, a coach? Is there a program? Is there a feel-good story that you kind of want to see come to fruition? What are you rooting for in this Final Four?
Continuing to get quality games and exciting basketball. My 91-year-old grandmother told me that this has been the most exciting tournament she's ever seen. So much so that she, especially after some of the Sweet 16 games and the round of 32 games, she would cry after some of them because the games were so competitive that she hated to see them boys lose. And that's a direct quote. And so how can this tournament not live up to that, to what we've gotten so far? Hopefully we'll be able to continue to get great competitive close matchups. And Alabama Duke wasn't on paper, it still looked close and fun, but it looked like it got out of hand late. But if we continue to get what we've been getting with these close, fun, good matchups, that's what I'm rooting for. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, you want this to continue to be a great tournament.
Correct. Yes.
And it feels like it has been.
It will be
so far. I have no doubts that it will be.
I'm not saying it's got to have like a last second shot or something like that, like Villanova and UNC. The other, like it doesn't need to be that. Just if you give me a 5-point game with 3 minutes left, like I'm happy.
To be honest with you, it hasn't been a great tournament as far as like drama. One buzzer beater, and that was the Maryland buzzer beater.
But I do think the games have been mostly competitive.
They've been fun. I've been entertaining. But I mean, as far as like outrageous,
I don't think you have to have a buzzer beater to be a great game.
No, not necessarily, but it doesn't hurt matters.
You asked before the tournament started, will we get more chalk or chaos? We've unabashedly have gotten chalk.
Chalk.
I just
Like
don't
clapping
think.
erasers chalk,
I just don't think that means that.
which I think has been fine.
I don't think it means it hadn't been good games.
Right.
No one's saying it hasn't been good games. I'm just saying that
Houston kind of pulled away from Tennessee. I mean, Auburn was in control late, but it was a competitive game. Texas Tech, Florida, competitive game. Now, Duke and Alabama, not overly competitive, but Auburn, Michigan was competitive. Houston, Purdue came down to the wire. Ole Miss, Michigan State down to the wire. I mean, those were competitive basketball games. Duke, Arizona was a competitive basketball game. Texas Tech, Arkansas went to overtime. So I mean, I think we've had good games. I don't think you have to have buzzer beaters. We've had a couple blowouts. I mean, I don't think anybody would deny that. Alabama's St. Mary's was competitive for a minute, more competitive than people thought it was going to be. So I mean, I think you've gotten good games. Maryland, Colorado State was a 1-point game. Arizona beat Oregon by 4. I think I just felt like when I look back on it, I feel like the games have mostly been competitive. Now, have there been like you said, Greg, crazy last second shots? No, but I feel like we've had good games.
I don't think we've had bad games. I just don't think it's been like the most dramatic finishes, which is fine. I don't think that is indicative of a good tournament, great tournament. It's been chalky as can be. Some people are into that. Some people aren't into that. Like, to me, I kind of just enjoy the basketball and take it for what it is. Like, I like the tournament, whether it's 25 buzzer beaters or none. I don't really care. I think they're all really fun. So I'll be curious to see how the Final Four plays out, because based on the law of averages, which does happen from time to time, it would not surprise me one bit if we have 3 incredible games in the 3 remaining games. It just wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, go back a little bit on that. The first round had some clunkers. Maryland, Grand Canyon, 81-49. Arizona, Akron, 93-65.
I mean, it has not been a great tournament.
Oregon, Liberty, 81-52. Iowa State, Lipscomb, 82-55. Duke, Mount St. Mary's, 93-49.
That was closer than the score would indicate.
Houston, SIU, Edwardsville, 78-40. Yikes. St. John's beat Omaha by 30.
Those were it was closer than you realized, though. It was
Wisconsin
a buzzer beater
beat
to make
Montana
it
by
30.
19.
That was one of the buzzer beaters. They sunk one from half court to win
covered
by 30. Yeah.
So there were some first round clunkers. UCLA beat Utah State 72-47.
Like, tell me this. Tell me this. Okay, outside of the Maryland shot.
Gonzaga beat Georgia by 21.
Okay, answer me this question. Every single tournament that is considered great has a moment or several moments that you're like, wow. Tell me the moment outside of the Maryland shot that you remember vividly from this tournament was like, that's going to last for multiple generations.
Alabama hitting 25 threes.
That was a moment?
I mean, it's 25 of something. It can't be a moment, but that's a part of this tournament that I think people are going to remember.
Yeah, I'm not saying people won't remember it.
Most threes ever hit in a tournament.
I'm not saying people won't remember it. I'm just saying that's not a moment. Like the Georgia State head coach on his scooter falling out of the chair when they beat Baylor and his son hit the game winner. That's a moment. Valpo and Coach Drew hitting that from 30 feet at the buzzer. That's a moment. There've been a handful. There haven't been a ton. Kemba, cardiac Kemba, boom. That's a moment. Christian Laettner, boom, moment. I'm not saying there's a ton of them. I'm just saying, has there been one in this tournament for you?
No, from that perspective, I guess not.
That's not maybe
the Janai Broom coming back in the game and hitting a 3.
Oh God. To win by 20?
Hold on a second though. But it wasn't the game wasn't out of hand at that point.
You know what? That reminds me. The Paul Pierce, when he got carried off the floor and then came back and played, that was a moment.
Not the NCAA tournament.
That was a moment. That was the finals.
Not the NCAA tournament.
The finals.
You asked about this tournament.
Well, I'm just saying that was a moment.
Well, hold on a second. How is that not a moment?
It was. I mean, it was for Auburn fans. He's
mouthing to his teammates and the people on his team, I'm done. I'm out. It's over.
Well, maybe he might have overstated that.
Well, apparently he thought it and then found out it didn't need to be.
He also thought it when he hurt his ankle. And
I don't remember seeing him say, I'm done when he hurt his ankle.
I remember it looked like when you.
It definitely looked like it, but
it looked
he
like
didn't
his
say
leg was going to get amputated.
You didn't have him on camera saying it. You did in this game. And the game was not out of reach at the point in time when he exited. Now, it ended up not being overly competitive, sure. But you asked for a moment in this tournament. Would that not be one?
I think it's a moment for Auburn fans. How many people across the country are sitting there thinking, golly, when Janai Broome said, I'm done, I'm coming back in. How many fans that are fans of UC San Diego are sitting there thinking that's one I'm going to remember forever?
I'm not sure they're watching. They're in San Diego.
Okay, fine. Let's think of in Hofstra. How many Hofstra fans?
All of them. I'll remember that forever.
Where is Hofstra?
New Jersey.
No, close.
Manhattan.
Close. Closer. Long Island.
Yeah, that too. I'm trying to go see what the score was when he exited the game. Walker wants to join in on the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in, Walker.
I appreciate it, guys. I think a moment that stands out, and I think I'm going to remember it in life because he's going to be the number one pick. But Cooper Flagg's attempt dunk versus Grant Nelson and getting stuff at the rim. I know that may not be a big moment, but I think I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life because that was just awesome. So,
as a Bama fan, that was a great moment. You know what I mean? I don't know if Johnny fan from Oklahoma State's going to remember that one, but from our vantage point, amazing. I think from Cole's perspective as well, when it comes to Janai Broome, from an Auburn fan standpoint, amazing, right? Yeah. A great moment from our perspective because, hey, let's keep in mind, it's only the third Elite Eight appearance ever. The third Elite Eight game ever to stuff the number one pick on a dunk is pretty cool. You know? It's
going to make the one-sided moment. It's going to be a one-sided moment, hopefully.
Surely.
Even though it wasn't much of a game, but that one-sided moment, hopefully. But I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate me hop on and enjoy the weekend.
You got it. Same page. I think this outside of the Maryland shot, this tournament has lacked this last forever moment. And that will people, regardless of what their school affiliation is, that will remember that moment. I don't know if there is one. I really don't. And maybe which, by the way, is a good thing. Maybe that's to come here in the next 2 or 3 games.
Maybe the most memorable thing about this tournament was how overall everything was good. Maybe not one singular something, but it was consistently good. As opposed to someone like having like that one highlight play, they may remember how great the game was itself, but may not have a specific moment, period.
What is the best game of the tournament besides the Maryland buzzer beater? I'm not being negative. I'm honestly asking the question because I'm trying to think off the top without looking.
I'll forget it. It was a 10-point game when he checked out. And then Michigan State did cut into the lead before he came back in. So,
yeah. But what is the best game outside of the buzzer beater of the tournament so far?
Florida Texas Tech was pretty good.
Really good. I thought that would be in the short list. I would say Arkansas and who'd they play and lose to? Who were in control of?
Texas Tech.
That was good. There have been a handful of comebacks. There's been a few of them. Florida, Texas Tech, Arkansas, Texas Tech. Who did Ole Miss?
Florida, UConn was pretty good.
Ole Miss, Mississippi, Michigan State.
Ole Miss, Michigan State was good.
Real good. I mean, there've been a handful of comebacks, to be honest with you. But wire to wire, back and forth.
Yeah, Arkansas, Texas Tech overtime might qualify.
That was a good one. That was a real good one.
Houston, Purdue was good.
It was.
Down to the wire.
That was a good game.
There have been, like I said, just because there's no buzzer beaters, I feel like there have been competitive games. There have been some that weren't. But when you draw it up like this and you give the 1 seeds to the teams, they're supposed to push through, right? They're supposed to be the best teams. I don't think that's problematic.
I got no problem with that. What I'm suggesting is maybe it's coming. In a law of averages, most great tournaments have a singular moment that everyone can remember. Regardless of what team they pull for, there's a game that they remember. I'm not sure that this this tournament has had that moment yet. So I'm cautiously optimistic it's coming on Saturday or Monday. That'd be amazing. I hope it does. If it does, that's great. If not, then it's another tournament. But not every tournament's the greatest tournament of all time. And this one would kind of fall in the not the greatest tournament of all time category so far, but there's still 3 games left to play.
But I also think a lot of people would say greatest tournament to them. You would need upsets. You would need a Cinderella. You would need buzzer beaters.
It's funny that you say that, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, that the reason why the tournament isn't as good and the ratings might not be as good this year is or because of Cinderella. Nobody watches for Cinderella in the Elite Eight. I hate to break it to you. I know that there's a lot of people, there's a large contingent of people that are like, oh, I'm all in for the Cinderella. Well, I hate to break it to you. People like to see upsets in the first and the second round. Once you get to the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, no one wants to see it anymore. No one cares. They want the big, bad blue bloods playing in the Elite Eight and the Final Four. So, I mean, when VCU makes the Final Four, look at the ratings. Not as good. Just telling you. So I do think that that's something that needs to be acknowledged as well, is that the Cinderella is fun for a week, but for Cinderella to go the distance, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
And the ratings reflect that.
The ratings are never going to suffer at Bromberg's because they have the absolute best merchandise you could ask for.
Yeah, and I've had a great experience at Bromberg's every time I've walked in the door. I've walked in the door at both the Mountain Brook Village store and at the Summit. And I've gone in and I've bought that piece of jewelry that is one of a kind in many cases. I've bought that piece of jewelry that can't be replicated. It comes with a natural diamond from time to time. Those natural diamonds, I mean, that is something that began its journey to you, to your neck or to your ears or to your bracelet. That diamond started its journey 100 miles deep within the earth. That's remarkable. I'm not a geologist, but it's absolutely remarkable to think that started potentially 3 billion years ago. So these are precious gemstones, and Bromberg's has tons that you can choose from. It might be in your family for multiple generations. This might be something that your family has for 100 years. So make sure that you're buying it responsibly at a place that can put you in the right direction and that can help you out along the way. It's a massive investment in your family, and Bromberg's is the only place I would trust to make that proper investment. So go and check them out in the Mountain Brook Village store and at the Summit, and you can always check out some of their inventory online at brombergs.com.
All right, when we come back, continue talking about this tournament, some of your thoughts on it if you want to go there. 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. More on the Final Four next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. A lot of Final Four talk, a lot of basketball talk. That will continue. We'll continue taking your calls, get to your tweets as well. E. Robinson tweets in, most melodramatic, Mateen Cleaves, it's broke, or Janai Brooms, I'm done. Most memorable, meaningful, it's broke or I'm done.
I don't remember the Mateen Cleaves.
There's a lot of
It was a little before my time.
unmemorable things about his tournament run.
What year was this?
Is that 2000, I think?
2000? That's about right.
2001,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
I think in that vicinity. I don't remember the it's broke.
He is super annoying in the tournament. That's the only thing I remember. Yeah, they won it in 2000.
2000. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, I remember it happening, and I remember some of the antics and different things. Whatever.
On a scale of 1 to Paul Pierce, where was it? Where does it fall?
It was up there for me, kind of as a kid, as a youngster, but not really. Like I said, it was just his whole aspect, all of his antics in the tournament were just unlikable to me.
Yeah.
But he smiled a lot, so a lot of people thought he was super likable.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, we got action then.
800-239-9569. You want to get in. Before we go any further with this, Greg, tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Shannara Flooring is a great contractor. If you want to make sure your home and your floors are done right, they're going to respect your home. They're going to take care of your home as if it's their own. I know you're going to appreciate the service that you receive when you call Shannara Flooring and have them come out to change out your floors. They also have 40,000 square feet of CoreTech flooring in stock right now from Shaw. It's amazing what all they have for you. Nobody has more flooring in stock than Shannara Flooring. This is waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof flooring that brings value to your home or business. You also can get 12 months financing with approved credit by calling 205-518-6423. So if you're thinking about making some adjustments to your floors, call who? Call FOO, 205-518-6423, or go online at fooandyou.com.
Before we continue with some more Final Four, there was a situation in college football that took place yesterday. Wanted to get to that for just a moment. TJ Finley, here we go. It's going to take a second. Former Auburn quarterback, LSU quarterback, Texas State quarterback, Western Kentucky quarterback, current Tulane quarterback.
Yeah.
Is that right? Did I leave me out?
Tulane. No, that's right.
Okay. Apparently was arrested for driving a stolen vehicle.
What?
Then reports began to come out that the car that he was driving, that allegedly stolen, was registered to him.
What?
John Summerall was asked about it and had this to say about the TJ Finley situation.
Legally, I can't. I'm not in a position to be able to dive into it. You know, when things happen off the field, it's unfortunate, and I'll let the statement stick for what it is. But when guys make mistakes, then they have to have accountability.
He was arrested for illegally possessing a stolen item worth more than $25,000. According to court documents, he told authorities he bought the car from Atlanta. That's according to Garland Gillen, Fox 8 in New Orleans. Did he mistype that, or is that what was stated?
Like the whole city?
They told me I could have it. Who? Atlanta?
Maybe it was Donald Glover.
He did post on his Instagram story a black and white photo of himself in a Tulane practice uniform that said, "Don't believe everything you hear. I'll be back."
Well,
you think he even knows the significance of "I'll be back"?
I just like this guy's just so fascinating to me. So fascinating. I'm amazed.
But if the vehicle's registered to him, or maybe the plate was registered to him.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the plate could be registered to him, but at the vehicle,
was the plate for the car?
Yeah, but you can take a plate, an existing plate, and put it on a different car. And if you haven't gone to register the car, that could become a problem. it's a strange deal. I'm not saying that there's anything.
The report reads, on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 11 a.m., Officer Henry was dispatched to 6320 South Claiborne Avenue for a truck blocking a driveway. After running the plate located on truck, Dodge Ram, parentheses, it came back to a different car belonging to Tyler Finley. The VIN number came back stolen on the Dodge Ram from Atlanta, Georgia. Finley arrived on scene to move the Dodge Ram and stated he just purchased it in Atlanta. Vehicle confirmed stolen from Atlanta, Nick and Griffin of NOPD NCIC. I'll just say this. A lot of aspects of this could lack intelligence. But if you knew you were driving a stolen car with a plate that you moved over to said car, and a police officer calls you to ask you to come move vehicle, do you show up? That can't be a real thing, that if he really thought the car was stolen. And maybe I'm giving the kid too much credit.
I don't think you would. There's no way he knew it was stolen. There's no way you can be.
Kind of siding with TJ Finley here.
I 100% am. But it's still a weird thing.
But I could absolutely see a deal where it's like, hey, man, I got this Dodge Ram. I got to get rid of it. $5,000. Oh, I need a car. Cool. Boom. Thought he bought it straight up.
That's how I see it.
Whoops.
Might be. I'm sure that's what happened.
If you had your car stolen, would you want it back?
No.
John?
Is it the car I have now, or are we pulling a...
After your situation, I don't even like having the valet drive my car.
I have not let a valet drive my car since.
I'm telling you, that spooked me. I don't know if I'm
Actually,
going to get past
one of our listeners was on my flight back to Birmingham on Sunday, and he asked me, he goes, you at the valet? I'll see you there. I was like, I tried to tell y'all not to do that anymore. I was like, no, I am hourly every single time, and I will walk right across the street like Greg tried to get me to do for years, and now I finally do.
You do have to go down 7 stairs.
I think it's 11.
You would count. I know. You actually counted, didn't you?
I haven't lost the bag handle on them yet, and it's going to happen.
I love that you just roll them right down.
I'm not going to push the thing down and pull it back out if you get to the end of the stairs. Just drag it down. John, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know if we're in a Carson Beck kind of situation where, okay, this one got stolen, but I got 2 more. I think it might be all right.
We're not talking about a come up here. Like, we're not talking about like pulling a ruse on the insurance agency trying to upgrade. No. We're not talking about an upgrade.
No, something I may or may not have done, right?
Yeah. I think if somebody stole my car and drove it around, no matter what conditions anymore, I kind of don't want that back.
You're just over it. Yeah. That's kind of where I'd be.
I won't even wear a t-shirt I let somebody borrow.
Yeah. T-shirt, no. Golf polo, maybe. Sweatshirt, hoodie, 100%. Those never get dirty.
Have it.
Pants never get dirty.
Keep it. Keep them. I'll get another. This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It just feels weird.
Yeah.
I do not think you show up to assist officer in moving a stolen vehicle with a moved plate. Now, listen, dumber things have happened, but I'm going to side with doubtful on that one.
I'm with you. I think this is more being naive or
yeah, I should have put a little more thought into the actual purchase, probably.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think this deal feels pretty good. Maybe a little too good to be true. I think this is naive, more so than it is malicious.
All right, we'll continue talking.
We could be totally wrong, though. He could have,
this thing may come back and blow up in our face. But I do also feel like very few people in this situation just take the player's side. But this is one that I look at and say, if this is a criminal mind that is behind this, then criminal mind says, don't show up to move vehicle that was stolen with a moved plate for police. You know better than that. I understand some don't, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here, and we will see. Maybe we look dumb in the end. Back with more Mac and Cube next. Set to talk a little bit more Final Four from a Duke perspective. 9:40 Friday, April the 4th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Tell our listeners first, Greg, about Shannara Flooring.
Well, Shannara Flooring's been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience with Shannara Flooring, and I know that you guys will as well. They have 40,000 square feet of CoreTech flooring by Shaw in stock today, and they're serving all over the greater Birmingham area. This is a 100% waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof flooring that brings value to your home or business to breeze to maintain and clean. So if you're thinking about making some adjustments to your floor, call who? Call Foo. Call them at 205-518-6423, or you can go online at fooandyou.com.
All right, Dave Shoemate now does play-by-play for Duke Radio. He'll be set to call the Final Four against the Houston Cougars first. Dave, when you look at this Duke basketball team, there are questions obviously coming out the ACC tournament, injury to Cooper Flagg. He seems to be at full strength now. What questions, are there any questions for you about this team heading into these potential final two games?
Well, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I guess if you're talking purely from an injury standpoint, Malik Brown is still a bit of a question mark. He separated his left shoulder in a game against Virginia earlier in the season, re-aggravated in the ACC tournament. I know Cooper's injury got most of the attention, and rightfully so, but in that same game, Malik Brown got dinged up again. He returned last weekend, but played very sparingly, I think is the best way to describe it. Had to come in the Arizona game. Really, I think it was supposed to be kind of a break glass in case of emergency thing, and they got foul trouble in the first half. So he came in, played a few minutes, played like 3 minutes total in the game against Alabama, and he's a really versatile defender that came over from Syracuse. He's hoping to play more this weekend. That's a big piece if they can get it back to fill out some of the depth, particularly in this matchup with Houston, which is probably one of the deeper teams that Duke has faced, not just in the NCAA tournament, but all season long. So that's a little bit of a question mark, but otherwise, with the skill and obviously with the way Duke has been playing this year, there aren't a whole lot of questions around this team.
Very few. It's kind of amazing when you take into account just how good this Duke team has looked. Is it just me, or have they found a different gear in the postseason so far? We knew they were good. That should come as no surprise. We know they've had talent, but it feels like now they're playing at a different level. Maybe we're prisoners of the moment based on the performance last Saturday, but feels like now they're playing at a level that no one else can reach. Do you see it similarly or no?
Well, I think it's the NCAA tournament, but I'd also say the last third of the season. It's actually ironic to me coming into this matchup to see it being billed as Duke is the best offense versus Houston, which is the best defense for the first first half of the season this year. There were a lot of question marks about Duke's offense. Duke was the best defensive team in the country. And a lot of people are saying, where is the offense production? Where is it coming from? And John Shire said, be patient. I'm giving the guys freedom to make decisions because I don't want to have to call a bunch of sets. So later in the year, they have the freedom to play. And now over the last third of the season or so, the offensive efficiency numbers have been off the chart to the point where Duke is now, if you look at KenPom, which I think is one of the most recognizable metrics, they're the best offense in the country going into this game with Houston. So I do think the offensive production has jumped. The two games before the game against Alabama, the Elite Eight, the shooting percentage was up over 60%. In that game against Alabama, it was still 54%. The assist numbers way up, the turnover numbers way down. That, to me, is what has taken this Duke team to the next level. And honestly, guys, I think is going to be a huge piece to the puzzle tomorrow night against Houston, just because of the tempo that they play at, the fact that Houston doesn't turn it over. And as good as they are defensively, Duke is going to need one of their most efficient performances of the season.
Dave Shoemate, play-by-play voice for Duke Radio. He'll be on the call for their matchup against Houston this weekend. You mentioned John Shire. A lot of people will be introduced to him in this tournament, and we understand what the program is. We know the level of talent that he has. So he'll probably lose instant credibility with some people from his coaching prowess perspective. But take us through the hows and whys with him. How would you describe why he's able to get his team to play the way that he is, why he's getting his team operates the way that it does, just because of his coaching and his approach?
He's fearless. I mean, just right to the point where you were talking about, obviously he's had a lot of success in his first 3 years. He's tied the record for wins in his first 3 years as a head coach with Brad Underwood and Brad Stevens, and has a chance to break it come Saturday evening. And I say fearless because it all looks rosy right now, right? They're in San Antonio in the Final Four. He's won 2 ACC tournament titles, but everyone knows the old cliche. He actually mentioned it the day that it was named that he was going to follow Mike Krzyzewski, that you don't want to be the guy to follow the guy. There are a lot of people who don't want to jump at that opportunity, but he did. He stepped into those shoes, and he rebuilt some of the things at Duke that maybe people weren't thinking about 3 years ago that have become common knowledge now, right? Bringing in a general manager and Rachel Baker, who came over from Nike, thinking about the NIL era and thinking how things are going to change moving forward. He went outside the family, so to speak, with some of his coaching hires, bringing in Jay Lucas, who at the time came over from Kentucky and now is the head coach down in Miami, bringing in an Emmanuel Dildy, guys that didn't go to Duke but certainly have bought in and understand the culture. Chris Carrawell is still on staff. So that stuff to me that maybe doesn't get as much attention of how he built this thing is a piece of it. Then also, constructing this roster this year in particular, this time last year, a lot of the conversation around Duke was about the exodus and a lot of guys going into the transfer portal from a team that went to the Elite Eight. When you think you're so close, you're trying to keep it together to make those small improvements to move forward. But he thought drastic change was needed to build this roster around Cooper Flagg. And then you bring in, we already talked about Malik Brown, you bring in a Sion James over from Tulane, a guy like Nathan Gillis, who played for a national title last year against Purdue, around all of these talented freshmen to kind of blow it up, so to speak, to me was brave to jump into the pool in that respect. And now obviously it's paid off being here in the Final Four. But he's a vicious competitor, obviously an elite recruiter, and a great X's and O's coach that he probably doesn't get enough credit for.
It's kind of crazy when you think about just how many people were vying to take over for Coach K, and several of which going and taking jobs in an effort to prove themselves in that job, whether it's Capel or Woj, whatever it may be, in order to potentially return as Coach K's chosen successor. And yet he decided to go with John Shire, who's so young and had played for him just 10, 15 years ago. When he was hired, was there any controversy or pushback from those that have been maybe proven themselves a little bit more?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's obviously a tremendous respect and healthy regard for all those guys. And Jeff has had a really good run at Pittsburgh. And I think Chris Collins just signed a contract extension at Northwestern. So I think it's just when Mike Krzyzewski was looking at this, and to be fair, the folks at Duke largely made the decision with input from Mike Krzyzewski about who was going to be the next fit, of who was able to step into that role. And I think with the way they handled the transition and the succession plan and having a year to kind of build what he wanted to, Coach K saw something in John Shire and how he was going to be able to continue the tradition of the program. Is actually something Josh Shire was asked about yesterday and kind of spoke candidly for several minutes about the vision that Mike Krzyzewski had and all of that. And maybe not every legendary coach that is stepping down wants to see their program succeed at the level that it was when they were there, but Coach K certainly does. And obviously the way he built for it to move forward has certainly paid incredible dividends for Duke.
Dave, thanks for taking some time with us today. Enjoy the Final Four. Going to be a fun ride, and you'll be there on the call for the Blue Devils if they get past this one on Monday night as well. But we appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit today.
No, appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Dave Shoemate, the play-by-play voice for the Duke Blue Devils via radio calls. He'll be on the call for one, maybe two games coming up Saturday and Monday in the Final Four. We will close out the shop, let you know our final picks for the Final Four next, right here on Mac and Cube in the morning. 9:52 Friday, April 4th. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. They have won 5 straight national championships. Nobody can touch them when it comes to the national championships. One, it's amazing when you take into account just how good Bill Smith Buick GMC has been. They've won it 8 times overall, and I bet you they'll win it again next year. And the deals they have right now are off the charts good. Like a 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, $66,835 is the list price. They'll take $13,500 off the sticker. That means you'll get it for just under $53,335. It's amazing when you take that into account. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's why they sell more GMCs than anyone in the entire Southeast. And that's why they are GMC's Dealer of the Year. So take the short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online. Have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, our final picks coming up for this weekend. Final four, Friday, Saturday, 5:09 on CBS. Auburn, Florida is going to be first. Greg, who you got?
Florida. I think Florida people I think you're kind of getting them on sale in the court of public opinion. I don't
think there's any doubt.
People are like down on them for whatever. I know they had a tough game, but goodness gracious, did we not watch them down the stretch? I've been saying it since January that team has the highest ceiling. We've been on them from the beginning. I think we've been really, really good in kind of handicapping what Florida could become. And I still think they have another gear that they can get to that they just haven't gotten to in the tournament. So I'm taking Florida.
John, Auburn, Florida.
I picked them to win the whole thing. I'm going to stick with them. Auburn.
And I'll go with John there as well. I picked Auburn in my bracket to win the national championship. Not going to go against them now, but I am on Greg's side. Is that I said it to like 5 different guys at my kids' baseball games last night, asking me about the game. I was at Royal yesterday to have some service on my truck. Those guys were asking me about it. I said it to them. I said, the amount of blind confidence that people have in Auburn to, quote, just get through this game or just win this game, I do not understand it. I don't see it. I don't get it. Now, if you want to present to me a case as how Auburn's going to give Florida headaches and why they can give them headaches, specifically, I'll listen, and I do think it can happen. This team's kind of found a way to win. I think they have new life now. I trust Bruce in this spot, maybe more than any other coach in college basketball, of not only schematically being great, but just getting his team to believe they can do it. And his experience, I think, will be the difference in this game. So I'm going to go with Auburn to win this one. On the other side, Duke, Houston.
I'm taking Duke. I think Duke is arguably the most difficult team to play against in the field because of their combination of length, size, offensive acumen, the creativity of Cooper Flagg and how he's so good in every aspect of the game, and just length. I don't know how you can get around it. And I just don't know if Houston has enough offense to do it.
John?
You know what? I do think Duke gets it. Yeah. Because I had them losing kind of earlier in the tournament, but the way that I've seen them play, yeah, I think Duke gets by Houston.
How much of it is Cooper Flagg and him potentially just being, not potentially, but the best player in the tournament, best player in the nation? Greg?
I think he's the best player in the tournament. I think he's the most well-rounded player. He might not be the most ridiculous scorer, but the guy he's a 5-tool player. He can block shots,
dribble,
he can
shoot, pass, rebound,
block shots,
run, dribble, shoot, pass, block, rebound.
I think dribbling is kind of to be expected. Like, I think that's kind of something that I think you kind of have to be that.
You would think, but
tell Manute Bowl that. I will take Duke to win as well, and I think we'll be here Monday talking about an Auburn-Duke national championship game. So, again, I had that. That's what I picked, so I'm not going to get away from it now.
Ride or die, baby.
But as our listeners say, you don't know ball if you pick 4 1 seeds to get in the Final Four.
No ball.
Not a single ounce of it.
Just odds. Play the odds. Chalkman.
Charlie Chalkerson.
Charlie Chalkman.
Have a great weekend, folks. Enjoy the Final Four. I'll be on the call for Houston at San Antonio Sunday at noon. UFL action, 3-man front is coming to you next.